how do you want to do this? Because like you didn't ask, like you don't even know a single of my one of my opinions, I guess.
Yeah,
Like just know that I wrote the comment.
yeah. I mean, I'm assuming you disagree with at least something that I said.
Um, yeah, I guess. It's more like the whole vibe of like your last post, I honestly don't get. And like I'm
Mm,
not even here hating. I just truly like don't get what you're trying to do, but like I'm here for it.
okay, I appreciate that. That's fair. I think that's fair. I think that, I mean, let me put it this way: the way that I see my content, it wouldn't be a mystery to me, but I understand why it's a mystery for most people. Uh,
Hmm.
I kind of like to create space for people to arrive at their own conclusions on things, and so
Hmm.
sometimes I don't fill in the blank for people because I don't want to indoctrinate. I want to educate. And from what I understand
Hmm.
about education, a lot of times it's seen as something that is pulled from within the person. So it's like you could tell a person 2 + 2 = 4, or you could ask them if Johnny has 2 apples, or if Johnny has 6 apples and he eats two, how many does he have left? You know what I mean? That's allowing them to think.
Hmm.
So a lot of times that's what it is. But I think a lot of times people don't like the conclusion that their thought goes to. And because of that, I'm not saying that's you though. I'm saying that I see that a lot in my comments. So I think that's usually what causes people to like the cognitive dissonance thing. I think that's what causes people to react to the information in a negative way, or
For sure.
it's either that, or when they typically hear those that information or something like that, it's coming from somebody that's disingenuous. That's the only thing I could assume. Um,
Yeah.
so that, but
Uh,
so yeah, go ahead.
I think that like uh debates have some some value, some benefits. Like the way we do them, like for example, during electoral season,
Mm,
I think it's entertainment more than anything else. I think it's like sports for politics nerds.
yeah,
Like, I don't think that we're genuinely trying to advance society or politics or ideas many times. Sure, sometimes you'll have like actual productive debates where both candidates come in there with like they've done their research, they have the best intentions, you have a good moderator, everything goes fine. But a lot of debates, especially like on YouTube, on Twitch, on like social media, I think it's a lot of gotcha. So
mm,
like for example, for this live stream right now, I did not prepare anything. First of all, like you and I, we didn't communicate like what topics we'd cover. So like I'd be wasting my time trying to like, I don't know, study for something, like we didn't prepare anything.
yeah,
I don't have like gotcha stats, but if I wanted to do that, like many debates do, I could literally go right now and find some stats that are going to paint a narrative. So I'm going to find like, all right, X percentage of whatever demographic does whatever.
mm,
You could be race, could be like LGBTQ, could be anything. And then I'm
mm,
gonna ask you, do you think that blah blah blah? And then it's like, where did you get this stat? Where are you trying to get like I don't see any value in that because like you have your lived experience, like you're probably older than me. You're out there doing your thing, you observe things, you live in the US, I live in Canada. Like you see things, then you watch the news and you see like what feels true or not. Then if I give you a stat that says like, actually, did you know that black people are only responsible for violent crime when the father's like, it's like we're both gonna debate something, but
mm.
like, did you know what I like the fact that I just put forward? Did you know it 5 seconds ago? Probably not. Is my source credible? We don't know. Then you're gonna say your source from probably like I'm assuming a different like political ideology, like let's say left wing versus right wing,
Mm,
and then we're both debating like different reality. You know what I mean?
mm.
Like, and I think that that has little value, but it definitely it benefits the people in power to have the little guys fighting
That's true.
over trans bathrooms, over should that person be allowed in the Olympics or not,
Mm.
over like is Bad Bunny gonna wear a dress at the fucking Super Bowl? Or who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck?
I give a fuck. I'm gonna let you know now. I give a fuck.
That's fair. That's fair. And you're allowed to give a fuck. I'm just saying that like in the grand scheme of things, It's funny because like I actually saw in your comment section someone ask another commenter like, what do you disagree with Trump on uh with with legislation? So like not about like his character, not about like his fucking haircut or his fake tan. It's like, what do you care about legislation? Well, if we're going to talk about legislation, how do trans bathrooms impact my life? Well, they don't. In Canada here, there are places where you see tampons in the men's bathroom. I don't need a tampon. I'm just not going to grab one. Next, like, how is that like something that like bothers people so much? And like personally, I don't see the use for tampons in men's bathrooms. But if there are some that are available and I don't need one,
Yeah.
guess what? I'm not gonna grab one and I'll go on about my day and like worry about stuff that actually matters to me,
Mm.
whatever that might be. So anyway, I just feel like politics is very toxic. It's kind of like sports right now. It's like you're like a Jets fan or a Knicks fan or a
Eagles,
Yankees fan, and you need to fight with people.
Eagles fan.
Yeah, cool. I don't even care about football, but cool.
If I didn't say it, somebody else would hold me accountable. So I had to say something. That's
That's
you know,
cool. Are you from Philly?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right.
So that's what I had to
Anyway, I
say.
said I said a bunch of things, so feel free to answer to whatever was relevant to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I love about Canadians, Canadians are straightforward and so polite at the same time. I have
Mhm.
two Canadian friends because of a church that I used to go to, and the pastor established a church in Canada, so we had a lot of people coming down from Canada and stuff. So I understand Canadians, or I don't know about you, but the Canadians I know fart in public. They don't care about that shit. And they don't say excuse me, but I love them. I love them. They're straightforward and the kind of people that I've ever met. So that when we get to the politics stuff, I agree with you, especially when it's like a presidential debate. No one's actually learning from a presidential debate. That's not what it's really for, because at that point, a lot of the times the people are so I want to say radical, but basically like they're so radical that they can't even necessarily hear what the other side is saying, and that's not really what
Mhm.
it's for. Now what I will say though, this is the thing when it comes down to the politics stuff is that to mind my business is to like put it this way, when someone else is on the offense, right? Then that's going to always have me in a sense in a reaction mode. I'm going to always be a step behind them. And that's what it is when we look at tampons in the bathroom or the conversation about women going trans women going into women's bathrooms. That's what it is. It's someone who is deliberately going inch by inch by inch over 100 years, so that after 100 years the inches become miles. You know what I'm saying? So it looks incremental, and incrementally it's not a big issue unless you
Can I ask you
understand.
a question?
Sure.
What do you think is the angle of people or whoever, movements, institutions that support these kinds of things? And
Um,
this is not a leading question. I'm genuinely curious, like, where do you think they're trying to go? Because I don't know. I'm not going that far in my reasoning.
Okay. And I understand that. I understand that. Let me put it this way. There is, I like to give out resources for people to go and check out. Okay. So if people come and watch this later or something like that, they'll be able to go and search these things for themselves if they want to, and they can see it for themselves and make their own decisions. Now there's a movie slash documentary called Agenda. It's Agenda. The subtitle is Grinding America to a Halt. And
Hmm.
what that is, it breaks down. It's not a full history really because of where it starts at, but it's a history of uh, Marxism,
Okay.
cultural Marxism, really coming from the Frankfurt School of Critical Theory. I think that's how you say it, but I know it's the Frankfurt School. So if someone
Okay.
was to watch the documentary Agenda, it'll educate you on all of the different programs and different ideologies of the people, and like say for example, like the Frankfurt School does not 100% agree with Karl Marx, but it's like standing on the shoulders of giants, how people would say. So the Frankfurt School stands on the shoulders of Karl Marx, but they don't agree 100% with Karl Marx. So
Okay.
they're not. They didn't believe that the way that he went about he because Karl Marx was about class. So it's like
Hmm.
the employers and the employees. He was about creating division there between those people. But when you get to America, because of capitalism, that type of battle doesn't work because it's just capitalism actually brings people out of that. So you weren't able to get people motivated to revolt against the employer class because the worker class didn't feel like slaves necessarily because people were actually coming out of their poverty and shit. So instead, what you had to do was find other types of divisions, and that's where they came up with what is called the Negro Plan. The Negro Plan was realizing that because all you have to do is find pockets of animosity, and that's really easy to
Hmm.
do. There's always going to be some people who are oppressed or feel oppressed. There's always going to be people who feel like they're getting a short end of the stick, and then you just have to tell
Hmm.
them whose fault that is, and then you create a movement that's kind of based off that aggression. So in America, that's what the Frankfurt School taught. They taught critical theory, and critical theory applies to anything that you want to place it on. So, no, so the two main things we talk about all the time are critical race theory and gender theory. And those things are just basically saying like, why do we need gender roles? Which seems very innocent, because some people don't want to abide by gender roles. But then when you have decades after that type of mindset and now no one's happy in relationships, it's like, oh, maybe we should go back to what was working. But the point
All
of
right.
the
Well, yeah,
oh,
go
let me
ahead. Sorry.
yeah. So I'm gonna wrap it up on this part here. So the point
All
of
good.
it's critical. I'm sorry, it's cultural Marxism, which is about changing culture. So it's a very slow game, but it's about changing culture over time. And how they do that, one of the tools they use is critical theory. And the critical theory, what the goal of it is, it's like corrosive to bedrock principles and institutions of America, and that was their goal. They wanted to basically, well, out of their own mouths, they said they wanted to make Western culture so corrupt that it stank. That's what they basically said. So that was their agenda. Now I can't remember exactly why they want to do that. They're German Jews, so I would think that they would be more opposed to Germans, but they wanted to come to America and do it. So, yeah.
All right. So I'm glad you mentioned that last part because, like, I was gonna ask, wouldn't these people be Americans, like, destroying their own society, assuming that everything else that you said has merit?
Mhm.
And like, I don't know the documentary that you mentioned, so like, I'm not gonna comment on it.
Mhm.
There are many people, often associated with like conspiracy theories,
Mhm.
that will say like, yeah, there are elites or groups or institutions that want like the American empire or the Western empire or Western culture to like, lose to whoever, like whether it's other countries, other ideologies, make it the end of like Americans being like the biggest influential country in terms of economy, culture, everything, right? Do you think that like this is why people are jumping on the LGBTQ movement? And like this is a bit of a leading question because I'll let you know what I think about it. Like
Okay.
personally, I'm fully straight, not trans, but I lean towards supporting LGBTQ rights because I
Okay.
see them as human rights. I
Mhm.
see it as like you and I are black. For some, it's women. For some, it's like back in the day, like children didn't really have like rights. Like if you
Yeah.
wanted to beat up your kid or like like traffic it, whatever, like fucked up shit. Like
Mhm.
no one like looked out for kids other than their own family. So as a parent, if you abuse your child, no one could say shit. So
Right.
like whether it's ethnicities, races, religions, sexual orientation or identity. The way I
Mhm.
see it is like my ideal world, and I say that as someone who's like, I'm not a scholar. I'm just like a person.
Mhm.
My ideal world has people being able to do what they want
Mhm.
within reason. Like obviously, like no violence and like other fucked up shit. But like you want people to be somewhat free to be able to be what they are And like from what I've observed throughout my time on Earth, there is such a thing as a gay person. There are people from one sex that are attracted to the same sex. I am not one of these people, but I can imagine that this thing that they feel is natural is not something that they were born with. So I'm not going to discriminate against someone for being gay. The
Okay.
same way, I'm not going to discriminate against someone for liking different food or different colors than me.
Mm.
Now, if we're talking about the trans issue, I'm really not educated on it enough. From what I understand, they call it gender dysphoria or other stuff like that. I don't
Mm.
know how it works. I really don't. But once again, I'm like, if I'm gonna be opposed to something,
Mm.
I need to like truly feel like I understand it and see like how it's gonna be harmful and then take a stance. For example, murder. I think it's pretty easy to be against murder because like it's not good for society that you just can just like get up right now and like attack your neighbor or do something like that. It's messed up. We don't
Yeah.
want that. But like if an adult, and I'm not gonna debate like age at which you're going to transition or do whatever. But like, let's say you're an adult and you decide, like, you're Bruce Jenner, and you decide that you want to be Caitlyn Jenner after winning the Olympics back in the day. I'm like, cool, do whatever you want. I do not care.
Yeah.
It's not like I have a problem with it, but I'm also not going to be obsessed with it. Being like, you go, girl. Like, I don't care. I have other things to worry about. Then when we're talking about like bathrooms, I'm like, well, once again, in the stall, I'm not gonna like look down in your pants to see what you're doing. So as long as you're being normal,
Mm.
respectful, do whatever you want. Like
Mm.
I really wish this might sound like my privilege gonna come out saying this. You probably I don't know if you talk with these words, privilege, whatever, but like I wish we would stop talking about LGBTQ issues so much, not because I don't support them, but because I think it's bait. I think it's bait to split people between left and right, conservative and progressive, when like the things that actually matter, in my opinion, would be stuff like the economy, the environment, education, healthcare, even like international like geopolitics, like agreements between countries, like who's your ally, who are you like should we be cautious with this country, do they have like bad intentions, whatever, like arguing about once again whether Bad Bunny's going to wear a dress or can this bearded man go into this bathroom or not, to me it's pretty useless. And I'm not saying that like disrespecting the people that it concerns. I'm just saying like if we're gonna ignore like LG, like lesbian, gays, and bisexual for a second and just go with trans, like trans is what, like 1% of the population? Less? Why is this
Yeah.
occupying 10, 15% of like media space, you know? Like that I think is a big distraction, personally.
So I like that point right there because whenever I hear it in the trans debate, when a trans person says, or when the ally or somebody of the trans say, they're only 1% of the population, why in there then why are we fighting for equal representation? Why wouldn't they be only represented in 1% of media or 1% of sports or 1% of, you
Hmm.
know, instead of it being like we need to make them front and center? That's deliberate. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me put it this way: like the old school LGBT and all that, they think that the new school is tripping. There's a reason for that. It's
Hmm.
because uh, uh, all equal rights movements are, at the end of the day, for corrosion of the thing. So it all of the movements, like say for example, when did, because you might not feel like they are, but when did the LGBTQ get rights that make them equal with straight people?
I'm not educated enough to give you an answer, but I know that in the 2000s, a lot of countries legalized gay marriage. Like I know that Canada might be like 2004 or something like that. I think like the US was it like 2015 with Obama, something like that.
Hmm?
Um, like yeah, I don't have the exact years, but I would say that between let's say like the 90s for like the countries that were like really early on to, I don't know, I'll say 2015, 2020. Like a bunch of countries went from like we don't accept that to like it's legal, it's okay. And I'm gonna use gay marriage because I think it's like one of like the biggest accomplishments that LGBTQ has gotten.
Mm.
Um, I think there was like also like this case in the US where like this Colorado company didn't want to like make a cake for like a gay couple at some point. That was a big thing in the news. Like, and I'm not aware of like exactly what the court settled on, but
Okay.
like I think that recognizing that two men or two women can get married is huge in terms of like rights for people. Um, After that, what people keep asking for, it gets a little murky. Like, um, I don't know. Let's say like the whole debate with like how young people decide to transition. If
Mm.
we go back to like the trans topic, which once again I'm not that educated on, um, I think that's big bait. I think that's huge bait because like I do not believe, I don't believe that millions of minors across the world or the US are trying to transition. They might feel like they're in the wrong body. They might express like ideas that uh, that would indicate that when they have the age they would try to transition. But like this idea that like 8-year-olds are out there in the third grade saying like I want to switch genders, I want to get like snipped. I just don't believe that. I truly I don't believe that like let's say like one out of 100,000 kids does something. How relevant should it be that it makes the news, you know? Unless that's like something huge like a school shooting,
You'd
I
have
don't
to,
even think we should report on it.
to be honest
Was
with you,
that?
you'd have to ask the parent that disagrees with the child's decision how relevant it is. Because that's when it becomes important.
If
Because
you're a parent to an 8-year-old, I'm not saying that you should disregard what they're saying, but there's a reason why you're the parent, there's a reason why they're the kid, and like you have to make decisions that are for their own good. The same way like I have tattoos. If
yes,
at 8 I go to my mom and I'm like, I want to get a tattoo of Spider-Man, a huge one on my forehead, is their responsibility to be like, if you do that, you will fuck up your life.
hmm
And if they don't do that, they're a bad parent, in my opinion. They're soft, they don't have the authority and the like wisdom to tell me like no, don't do that. And you don't need to yell at them, just be like, look, tattoos are permanent, blah 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 blah. Like I don't even need to explain this, just like just be a parent,
now let
you
me
know.
ask you, in relation to that. Now, what
Mhm.
if your kid came to you and said they want a Spider-Man tattoo? You said that's not a good idea, but their teacher, who is their ally,
Right.
allows them to get the tattoo behind your back.
So that would be a big issue for many reasons. I'm actually like I'm a teacher. I I don't think that you can do that. Like you can't like who would pay for the tattoo? Who would drive you to the tattoo parlor? Like I don't think that many teachers are going to risk their jobs for that. And if they are, I mean, I don't think it's worth it. Like have you
But
heard of like kids identifying as like cats?
wait, say it again.
No? Have you heard of like kids identifying as cats or like other animals
Oh, the
like
first,
furry stuff?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it
Like
was adults, but I didn't hear about the kids really.
in a
'Cause-
country like I'm gonna like use ballpark numbers. Like in a country of like 250 million people in the US, in Canada we're like 40 million. You got tens, hundreds of millions of people, tens, hundreds of millions of and hundreds of millions of students.
Mhm.
If you have, let's say, like in the whole country, 50 or 100 cats that want a litter in the bathroom, should it be a news story or should we just have a teacher or principal say like, no, if you want a litter, buy one at home. Moving on, go to math class. Like done. No need
Yeah,
to call the newspaper. No need to flip
but,
out. Just say no.
but what if society is on the other side of that, enforcing litter boxes in the bathroom? Then what?
I don't I don't think that society supports stuff like that. I think that a lot of people are progressive and a lot of people are accepting, but I think that most people, if you were to poll them right now, because I know you like polls,
I do.
and you ask them like, is it reasonable to have litter boxes in public bathrooms in schools? Most people would be like, no, that's too far. Like,
Yeah,
think
yeah.
about it. Like, if you're using a litter box in a public bathroom, like, do you need to stall? Are you just doing that in front of everyone? Like, what the fuck are we doing? There's no way people would actually do that. That'd be weird as hell.
You know what's so crazy, bro? You know what's so crazy about when we were in 16 26, I think in 2016, if I'm not mistaken, Dennis
Mhm.
Prager, the Prager Institute or whatever, was
Yeah.
literally on, I think he was on Bill Maher saying they have tampons in the men's bathroom. And everyone
Yeah.
on the show laughed at him and said, no, they don't. You're tripping, you're crazy. And he was right. That it's the exact same thing with the litter boxes. People, the average person can't see us going there. But like I said, someone is incrementally creeping us there intentionally. So while we're playing defense, while we're being passive, letting live and let live, they're using that against us. And slowly but surely, our culture is changing right in front of our eyes. And then you look up and one day you're like, I can't even call a woman without being offensive to somebody. It wasn't like this 10 years ago. Somebody is incrementally doing this, and I believe in live and let live as well. But I
Mhm.
also believe that when you're encroaching upon me while I'm trying to let you live, then we've lost the plot. So,
You know what? That's a fair point. But I think that like when you like let's say you forget that the internet exists, right?
okay.
Like I know like you have a job where it's hard to forget that the internet exists because it's your whole job. But like well it's not your whole job, but like a huge part of it,
I,
right? Like let's say you work a regular like office job, you do
okay.
not have the internet, you
Okay.
maybe watch like the evening news after dinner and then you go to bed or you go to the gym or you read a book. Like you just live like it's like 1960, right? Like
Okay.
I don't think that you'll hear about litter boxes or looks maxing or what's going on in Venezuela and like all these things if you're not plugged in. But we're all now plugged in. So we start to believe that these things are the truth. But to me, the truth is like everything's expensive. Young people are afraid they're not going to be able to buy homes. People think that all sides of politics are corrupt. We're worried about climate change. And I know that climate change can be controversial as well. I personally believe in climate change, and I don't think it's a controversial thing to say. We can get on that later if you want. But
Okay.
like, I think that we're being distracted. And sure, I can give a lot of merit to what you're saying about like kind of like a slow like boiling the frog effect of like you're not going to notice, but we're like taking small steps to like make your life different than what it used to be.
Mm,
But I think like personally my biggest problem with like modern society is how everything is pay to play. Like I watched this video not long ago about how like in the US I follow a lot of stuff about the US,
okay.
how in 2012 for the first time laws were changed that allowed like PACs and super PACs to like support politicians in a way that totally changed the game.
Mm,
Like previously I think there used to be limits where like let's say you have $1 billion. You're
mm,
still just one guy. So you get to cross, like, you get to like mark, like, all right, I want this politician elected. You're one guy. That's it. You can't make your dollars speak. You can't make your land speak. You can't make your company speak. But now, with all the money you have and the new laws, you can pump endless money, the kind of like the way Elon Musk did,
mm,
to like support a candidate. And obviously, it's not going to make people vote for that candidate automatically, but you're allowed to like, I don't know, buy him a jet so he can be in all the cities in America just like that. You can
mm,
buy him advertisement. You can whatever. You can also like straight up like buy your way into government later on. It's like, all right, I'm going to help you to get elected, but once you get elected, don't forget like who helped you, you know? Like Elon Musk to me is a great example of this. And I'm not going to debate like Elon Musk or Trump's politics. I'm just gonna say like the man bought a like pseudo like vice president position. He didn't run. He's not JD Vance. He's not on like the administration. He's not secretary of anything. He's a billionaire, and he pretty much bought a year of like meddling in government affairs with Doge, which is also odd because it's related Doge to his favorite like cryptocurrency. Like there's a bunch of like weird stuff going on there. And I think that like what you're saying about like the boiling frog effect of like certain social norms has merit. We should study that.
Mm.
But I think that it's not as important as like class issues and like the current trajectory of like politics right now. I think that like the way like I'm sure you invest, right? You like you see that like the stock market is doing well.
Well, I don't invest in the stock market, no.
Okay, well, like the way like right now the S&P is like super high and like what's her face? Pam Bondi in front of Congress is going to talk about how the Dow is doing great instead
Hmm.
of talking about the Epstein files. To me is just like a sign that like the economy and like money controls everything. Like she can point to this chart that says money is up while most people are looking at their situation and are worried for like the next years, the next decades,
Hmm.
and we're pointing at this chart that's supposed to see the economy is good. I
Hmm.
think I think most people would agree on like certain facts. Like since COVID, inflation is up. Uh, a lot of our politicians don't follow their promises. I'm not gonna make like 10 statements, but like there are many things like that that I think that if you were to ask that without having like leading vocabulary, most people on the left and the right could find a way to agree with it.
Well,
But
talking about prioritizing, but that doesn't make the
mhm,
thing on the list not important. I see what you're saying. You
sure.
prioritize, but say for example, like with the COVID thing, right? I don't know if
Mhm,
most people are aware of the Biden economic plan or whatever. Like Trump did one, and then Biden did one. You can see
mhm,
the effect because I made a video about this. I don't have the numbers off head or whatever, but you can literally see there's a difference between when Trump did his COVID plan versus when Biden did his COVID plan. Trump's COVID plan spiked inflation and then it came back down. And then when Biden did his COVID plan, inflation went up to like 9.1 or something like that. Like and that's what I mean about things being kind of like downstream from those issues that we don't think are important because those issues really highlight a mindset. There's a reason why people were so gung-ho about voting against Trump, not necessarily for Biden. And they did so to their own detriment. And now, at least in America, we're living in inflation. And for some reason, people are blaming it on Trump. They've literally forgotten about Joe Biden being in office for 4 years. They forgot about how
but
much.
inflation, I would say, is a global thing
Yeah,
post-COVID. Like
because
I
we
know that in Canada, like
go.
1/3. Oh,
I'll let you
sorry, you're
talk.
kind of cutting off.
I know.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
All
Yeah,
good.
go ahead.
All right, yeah, I just want to finish the point because I let you talk for a while. I just want to finish that point because
Sure.
like I don't have the exact information, but this is why I make the video so that I can reference people to them. Maybe I'll repost it or something like that. Very clear. You can see the I don't even remember the institute that tracks these things, but you can see the numbers for Biden versus Trump at the inflation. And that's one of the things that like even the well, let me stay on this one topic real quick. Okay, so the fact that inflation went up after Joe Biden's, I think it's called the American Recovery Plan or something like that. You can literally track it. That's what made it spike. Now, for some reason, people totally neglect what Biden did, and they only relate it to Trump's first term, and then they relate it to Trump's second term. They say, Trump said he was going to bring down the price of groceries and eggs and gas. Well, yeah, I mean, he's talking about bringing down the prices of Biden's eggs, groceries, and gas. But for some reason, when it doesn't happen fast enough, it becomes Trump's fault, the prices.
Mhm,
That's as well, that's manipulation as well. That's
mhm,
not telling the story. The full story would be Trump gave out money and that spiked inflation. and then it came down. And then Biden gave out money again, because Kamala Harris had to break that tie vote. That's one of the things where like if you was to they were going around saying that Kamala Harris was responsible for the inflation because her Senate vote was the one that broke the tie and allowed that bill to pass. Now, I'm
Can I
not
ask you a
saying
question?
it's just, oh, I just want. I'm not saying Kamala Harris is responsible for inflation, but I'm saying that the policies under the Biden administration spiked inflation to the point that we haven't seen before. And for some
Okay.
reason, no one is like what they call it when they do the autopsy of where we're at. No one is blaming Biden for you know where we're at. That I think that
Well,
that's
I'm sure some people are,
well not the mainstream, and that's kind of what I wanted to get to
but
because.
okay.
Mm,
I just like I got a couple of things to say about that. I'm gonna try to stay on topic, but like I think that like first of all, the question like is it this politician or this that politician's fault is a bit of a like it's a false start because like first of all, we have to address the fact that we had like an unprecedented event with that pandemic where like I don't think we've ever had like people stay at home like that for 2 years. It like disrupted everything we knew, right? I think that we can first of all agree on that. Like COVID was, let's say, weird. It was unprecedented. It was an odd time, and like while people were not working, we printed a ton of money. And when I say we, I mean like the whole world.
yeah.
Like tons of countries printed money to allow people to eat.
Mhm.
I actually worked a gig during COVID for like the equivalent of like the IRS here in Canada, and I would receive calls from people talking about their benefits, saying like, "There's been like a delay where I didn't get my benefits. Like, I'm not going to be able to feed my children like this week," and I literally have to tell them like, "I'm sorry to hear that. There's nothing I can do." Like, a lot of people worldwide live paycheck to paycheck. So if you close their place of work and they don't receive a paycheck in 2 weeks, a lot of people are in trouble for like basic survival to pay rent, to pay for food, to pay for bills coming in, right?
100%.
So to prevent like societal catastrophe, a lot of governments decided like we're gonna foot the bill and send you checks while you guys are at home.
I think somebody's trying to come up. Hold on one second.
All right.
Oh, I didn't see your notification. That's okay. All right, I'm with you.
All right. Yeah, so I'm saying like we printed a lot of money so that like people wouldn't like starve. And like was it done the proper way? I'm not gonna like argue yes or no. I'm just gonna say it was done as an emergency. And in an emergency, sometimes you miss certain steps. Like you might do stuff like the wrong way because you're trying to help immediately.
Mm.
That inflation, whether it was like a right wing government, a left wing government in whatever country, it was bound to come in because, like, even in your own country, if you give nothing, all the countries around the world are giving checks. There's all this new money that's been printed. This is going to create like worldwide inflation. And
Or
one
you
thing
let
that
people
I
go,
like to was that,
or you could have just let people go to work.
you know what? I kind of agree with that. I didn't like lockdowns, but like I'm not in power. So if I go and like leave my house, I'm gonna
They
get a huge fine. Like they would give
exactly
like $500,000 fines. Like
my point.
I didn't want to stay in my house, but I had to. Like
That's my
I used
point.
to work in a gym at that time. The gym is closed. Like, am I gonna show up to a closed gym? No. So like at this point, are we blaming Biden or Trump or Harris? I don't know. I'm not blaming the
Yeah.
politicians. I'm just saying like this is the
We're,
situation we were in.
we're blaming liberal policies. Where in I think it's either North Dakota or South Dakota, they never shut down, and they have one of the largest elderly populations in America. Florida was
Mm,
the second to open up. They have, I believe, I think South Dakota might be per capita, and Florida has one of the biggest elderly populations. It's literally where people go to retire in their old age.
mm.
So look at the numbers after the fact. It seems as if somebody was deliberately trying to cripple economies. That's what I mean about them.
Who would that someone be? Because we assume nowadays that the virus came out of China, right? Wuhan, the lab,
Hmm.
but do we really know? Like, I'm not gonna try to get like into a different conspiracy right now, but like you see how like complex the Epstein file case is currently.
Hmm.
If we're talking about a bio weapon potentially that
Hmm.
was made in China, like, are we really ever gonna know the truth of like where did COVID came from? I think most people by now don't believe that it came from a random bat. Most people are aware that like it was most likely engineered. Was there a leak? Was it leaked on purpose? I don't know. But like we could ask a lot of questions about COVID, but the result was there was inflation in all these countries. Personally, I like I said, I wasn't a fan of lockdowns, but the rationale that a lot of people use to justify them was that like if you don't close down, you're gonna have so many cases that literally like hospitals are not gonna be able to support like the load coming in. Was that true? I don't know.
That's the point.
But there were people
That's
that
the
were working in hospitals saying that we're running out of beds. We're I don't know. Like I can't take position on all these things because I don't know. I'm not in China. I'm not in every single hospital. And like maybe in some countries that have great healthcare, hospitals were chilling. They were like, yeah, we can take the sick people coming in. And in other countries, maybe like truly like a 50% spike in ER visits would like make the whole country like be in a panic. Because like think about it. Like let's say right now your grandma like falls down the stairs and
Mhm.
has to go to the hospital, but the hospital cannot take her for the next 6 days because everyone out is out there coughing. Wouldn't you see that as like pretty horrible? And I say that as someone who doesn't support lockdowns like that. I'm just saying like hospitals are a a key part of our societies, like healthcare. If right now you need like you're having a heart attack, you fell, you I don't know, you got shot, whatever, because that happens in the US, not as much here. Like you need people to look after you right now. Like I have a bullet in my arm. Can you please do something about it? No, we can't. We got 1,000 people sniffing and coughing in the ER.
That we can't
I like,
that we can't do anything for, that we can't help. We just giving them a bed. We should be sending them home like we would do with anyone else.
mm,
That's the point. It's the fear. It's the what if. It's the do you want to kill grandma? All of that is nothing but psychological
yeah.
manipulation. Yeah.
I'd like to know what you think about this because I've argued this with people during COVID. I was saying that I think one of our realizations from COVID was that like death is something that we're really afraid to talk about, especially from a political viewpoint. Because
Mm.
like you and I could discuss death. We could discuss like if we have family members that have passed away, whatever. But like a politician cannot just be like, yeah, some of you are going to have to die. That's a
Yeah.
very unpopular viewpoint.
That's
You may
true.
think that, but you'll have to disguise it in other ways. Like you can't tell people like, yeah, your grandma's going to die. But the truth is, grandma who's 86, who's been smoking her entire life, might need to die for the small business that feeds five, six, seven people to keep going on. Because at the end of the day, like, yes, COVID is tragic. We don't want pandemics,
Mm.
but like closing businesses also indirectly kills people.
Yes.
You know, it doesn't kill them, but like it takes away their livelihood. Like, I think we weren't ready for that debate, and because politicians at the end of the day do want to get reelected, they avoided like antagonizing large parts of the population with
Mm.
these like
Truth.
opinions that could be controversial. Yeah, yeah. So I'm kind of with you on that. I wasn't a big fan of lockdowns, but to get back to inflation, I think that there was very little, and maybe I'm totally wrong and uneducated here, but I think there was very little that like a single governor or a single president could do to avoid inflation coming their way, as so many other states in the world decided to print money. The whole like the amount of money going like around the world right now like increased. And I feel like if you don't do that for your own population, you're probably now at a disadvantage. You know what I mean?
No.
Like if everyone else is printing money,
Where did
and
every
we're not.
in America, people are leaving California and New York and going to the two most red, quote unquote, racist places in America right now. The places that had the most lenient COVID rules. Because people are now seeing that we need a governor who's not afraid to do the thing that they think is best for their people, as opposed to cowering in fear. When I remember when Miami was wide open and people were still going to the beach and they were still going to games, I thought it was disgusting
Mm,
because I was under the same manipulation about COVID. You know, no one knew what it was at first, but we all thought it was disgusting. And now they're
mm,
telling you have COVID, you can still go to work, treat it like the flu. When before,
mm,
if you said treat it like the flu, you could get your entire YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter deleted. That's the
mm.
difference. That is the part of the discussion that we don't have today, but we should have today. We can talk about
You
inflation and all
know,
that. More concerned about is the psychological manipulation, the part that makes people run to really their enemy in order to defeat the person that they think is their enemy. And then we end up where we're at today, where we're not
I'm
talking
glad
about,
you're mentioning
we're
the
not
word.
talking
Oh,
about,
sorry.
it's all good. Well, we're not talking about how science has proven that lockdowns don't work and that we already knew they never work. So then you have to ask yourself, well, if they already knew they didn't work, then what was the purpose of them enforcing them? If we know that they don't work, if we know
I
that
don't know
what,
about that.
well, I'm telling you that because it's my job to look this stuff up. Not really my job, my hobby, my passion actually, but I don't get paid to do the shit, but I love to do it. So it's what I do on my social media. I go and look these things up. So I've already seen the studies where it says that they knew lockdowns weren't going to work, and then the studies afterwards showed that lockdowns didn't work at all, and that we've never used lockdowns to try to stop any of these things. Now you might do quarantine. You might quarantine the individuals that have it, but you don't do lockdown. Even in China, where they wear masks all the time. You wear a mask because you're sick. You don't wear a mask
Mm,
to avoid getting sick. That it's the mentality that we've always had. Even who's the famous doctor? Fauci. Even he said
Fauci. Yeah.
at the beginning of 2020, you don't need to wear the mask. They don't even work. And and
I
and
was
then
gonna say
all
something about him.
and then everyone has to wear the mask after that. That's a
Yeah.
psychological manipulation. Where the truth doesn't change that quick. What changes is the political expedience of whatever narrative you're pushing. That's what changes. So before, you don't need to wear a mask. They don't actually work. You should only wear the mask if you're sick, but they don't prevent anything because they have open spots where spittle still comes out of. That's what he said. And then all of a sudden, everyone has to wear a mask. That's political. That has nothing to do with the truth or health or helping anybody. That's something different. And then when the study comes out and says that masks were only 15 to 20% effective, do you think that matters when you walk into a restaurant and say that? When we're literally living in the most bizarre situation where I have to wear my mask in the door when I'm doing my order at the door, but I get to go down and sit at the table and take my mask off. I'm five
Oh
feet
yeah, I
away.
thought it was ridiculous. I
That's
thought it
that
was ridiculous.
that's my point. What people need to look at that as is some type of psychological manipulation or experiment, not trying to actually help people because
All right.
millions of people
So we
still,
mo
millions of people are going to die because they were
mm,
impoverished through the lockdowns. It's just like BLM, right? Vox comes out with the article. Vox is left leaning, not right leaning. Vox comes out with an article and says that the BLM protests have stopped around, I believe it was somewhere between 300 to 600 police killings. That's how the article starts. And it's like, that's a
that's
success. And then it says, but the homicides in those same cities have spiked 1,000 to 6,000%. That's like the COVID lockdowns. You can say the COVID lockdowns might have helped somebody. They might have saved grandma. They might have saved, but how many people do they kill in the future with the auxiliary shit? That's the part of the conversation that in the mainstream narrative we're not having. We're not having a conversation about how they told us that if we took the vaccine, we wouldn't get COVID or pass COVID. That's literally
can
what
I
they
say
said.
something?
When I'm about to wrap this up, that's literally what they
All
said.
right.
And then at the end, they started to say, we never said it would stop you from getting it. That's not how vaccines work. That's psychological manipulation. That's my point. They're offering you fries, they're offering you weed, they're offering you burgers at Steak and Shake. This is psychological manipulation. That's my point. But if we have to not have a conversation that makes us look like conspiracy theories, will be controlled by them, and that's my point. So they
Okay, so
far fetched, but look where we're at. It's not so far fetched.
there are a lot of things that you said that I'm willing to say I agree with or that I'm not opposed to. I like you said, for example, like masks are only effective like certain percentage. I'm not going to comment on that because kind of like how I started this conversation. If the real number is 5%, 40%, like I don't know. So I'm not going to comment. Can do I believe that masks like with like people have it like under their nose like I don't believe that masks are going to prevent you from getting sick if you're chilling with someone. Let's say like you go out for dinner and like the person next to you has COVID. I think you're going to end up having it no matter what. But like that's beside the point. Like the way like Fauci and like people dealt with COVID, that
Mm.
was during if I'm not mistaken, like mostly Biden's term, right?
Uh,
Because like
yeah.
Trump left
Yeah,
in 20 he
okay.
left in 2021 like with January 6th.
But I will.
um
Trump did start with the whatever it called the lightning warp speed project warp speed, and I believe he is the first person to sanction the lockdowns, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not even trying to blame anything on Trump or on Biden.
But
I was just gonna say like the worst of COVID, other than like the start, was through the Biden administration.
okay, okay,
And
yeah.
like what you seemed to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that a lot of what they said was either false or disingenuous or dishonest, like about the mask, the lockdowns, the way they dealt with inflation. Like you seem to say that like the administration did a lot of things wrong,
Not
including
Biden,
like having you was that?
not Biden. Biden was asleep the entire time. Now, and
Well,
I'm
his administration, right? Whoever's like, pulling the strings.
yeah, his
And
super.
like yeah. And like I'm not gonna disagree with that. And I'm not gonna say like, okay, so now you attacked my guy. Biden's not my guy. So
Right.
now I need to attack yours. I'm not gonna do that because I think that kind of like I said at the start, this is where we're gonna lose each other. Where it's gonna be like, well, CNN told me this, Fox told me that, and we're just gonna yell at each other and it's gonna be unproductive.
Mm.
My issue personally is not like, oh, I support this party or that party, left or right, is the idea that like we've seen all these fucked up things about the pandemic from 2020 to 2022 mainly.
Yeah.
And then now, 2026, not that long after, we're supposed to look at how everything is run. So, like, how I'm going to talk about inflation for a second. Like, a
Okay.
lot of what caused
I'm I'm,
inflation is not
listen-
just
I'm listening to you though. Just let you know.
like a lot of what caused inflation is not just printing money, even though it's a big part. It's
Right.
also like companies taking advantage of that to make maximum profit. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Like there are companies that were like, everyone's confused. We just had a pandemic. All the prices are going up. Even though our operating costs didn't necessarily go up, let's increase our prices or let's
Mm.
like
Or
fire
product.
a bunch of employees. Yeah.
Mm.
And like sure, printing money is a part of it. Corporate greed is a part of it.
Policy.
And
Policy.
like that was that.
Policies. It's the act that was
Yeah.
passed. Policies in the act that was passed. It's not just the money printing because that's always done it, but it's auxiliary things around that. It's the
Mhm.
policy. You know,
So
we
if for
didn't.
example I'm the CEO of a Fortune 500 company and I
Mm,
decide to be opportunistic, I
mm,
see this pandemic and I see like, guys, I think I can raise prices and people are going to think, well, it's inflation, it's COVID, it's what happens.
yeah.
Is that a Biden issue? Is that a Trump issue? No, that's just me as a CEO. This isn't a
Well,
political issue. Even if
no,
as a CEO I vote blue or red, it doesn't really matter because I'm here for your dollars. I'm not here to support politics. I'm here for my own gain, for my shareholders.
yes,
You see what I'm
which
saying?
yes, but that's what causes. That's so you don't have. You just have to incentivize that behavior. You don't have to tell people to go do it. You just have to create the circumstances that allows them to get away with it. Like, say for example, I posted that video about the cloud living thing. It's black people were, you know, poor and shit, but they weren't getting on welfare. That wasn't the thing. There was a very small percentage of them getting on welfare because there was a public stigma against it. What Cloward and
Hmm.
Piven did was create a new narrative around that stigma, saying that no, this is reparations. And then black people flood into the system when they don't necessarily need the welfare. But if they're seeing it as reparations, that's totally different. Cloward and Piven's whole goal was to try to bankrupt the states and the cities where that was giving out the welfare so that they could try to demonstrate that capitalism wasn't an effective tool. And they wanted it to get so bankrupt and so bad that the government had to give out stipends, universal basic income. That that's
Hmm.
that's that was their intention. Now the government officials, that's not what they was preaching. The people who were signing up, that's not what they were thinking. That was the agenda of the. That's what I'm saying. That's the incremental agenda of the people behind the scenes. The mainstream narrative has to be the beautiful commercial. You know, the mainstream narrative is like the Edward Bernays thing, right? Uh, the torches of freedom, talking about getting women to smoke cigarettes, the torches of freedom. But in all actuality, what he's trying to do is get the American Tobacco Company to expand their audience to another 50% of the demographic because there was
Okay.
a stigma imposed on women smoking.
So with everything that we've discussed so far, like, by the way, what you just said here, I'm not familiar with, but I can believe it. Like, I know that there are people out there working in the shadows trying to influence society in certain ways for whatever reason. I believe that. And I
Mm-hmm.
think it'd be foolish not to believe it, actually. Like,
All
all
right.
right, so I sort of forgot where I was going with my idea when it cut, but I'm gonna try to pick back up where I left off.
Okay.
I was gonna say something about how like clearly like you care about educating yourself about manipulation and like hidden agendas that like might be going on, which I think that anyone who's uh like interested in like critical thinking and in preserving like what you currently have and not like letting others just take away from you, whether it's your rights, your money, your time, whatever. I think that's a smart thing to do. What I want to go to with that though is like I'm surprised that you still see it as like the dichotomy of left or right, because if we're gonna call it a left wing government, let's say the Biden administration or whoever during COVID can have like fucked us over. Do you think that the other side is just gonna save us? It's like bad guys, good guys, like a corny superhero movie.
No, I don't. I don't.
All right,
Yeah,
cool. We agree on that.
I'm not. That's what I'm hoping people actually get from my messages is that I keep saying to people that I'm not telling you to vote conservative. I'm not telling you to look at politics as the answer. I'm telling people to look at politics as the problem. Like, because for black people in America, we only vote for one side. You can say that there are black conservatives, but there's so much the minority, it doesn't matter that they even vote for conservatives. The part that matters are the people who vote for liberals. Fact that at least 80% of us have put our vote behind these people for the last 90 years. That's not thinking. That's not being politically savvy. It's not doing any of those things. It's not critical thinking. It's not even giving people a reason to fight for your vote because they know they got it. They've had it for a century. So that means that the Democrats know they're going to get it and the Republicans know they're not going to get it. So no one has to give you anything for your vote. It's granted. So we should divorce ourselves from the idea of political capital and start going back to human capital, the thing that every other ethnicity that's not represented in politics at all is doing and succeeding. They don't care about no policies. They don't have to. They're already succeeding because they're doing the thing that we were doing before we had any political representation. And that's my point is for 90 years, our minds have been manipulated to look at politicians for the answer. And we're only looking at one side for the answer, and the other side is the boogeyman. So that dichotomy of left and right is in 90% of it's in at least 80% of the voting population, the black voting population. That's how they see things. They see it as
Hmm.
left. They don't see it as, our votes don't really matter because everyone knows who we're going to vote for already. They don't see it that way. They don't see it as when we gain political capital, when we gain political representation is when things start to go left for us. And I don't, no pun intended, that's when things start to go down for us. So
Mhm.
that's get people to understand. I'm not telling them to vote conservative. That's not the answer. I'm not telling them, Trump's out of office, about to be out of office. I'm not telling them to vote for Trump. That's not the answer. What I'm saying
Mhm.
is, look at how these people manipulate you because of your skin color. Look at these people, how they manipulate you because of your false narrative of history. And then when you look at things the correct way, when you understand that integration wasn't necessarily the best thing that happened to the black community, it's based on what we're currently complaining about, that that poverty doesn't breed crime, but crime breeds poverty. Things like that. When we readjust these mindsets, when we recognize that it was our elders and ancestors that asked for mass incarceration because these people were actually terrorists of the community, when we look at things correctly that way, then we can't be used anymore. We can't be manipulated based off our race and history or our fear of racism. You know,
Mhm.
all the ethnicities that are outperforming white Americans aren't worried about racism. They're not worried about
Just
democratic.
curious. I think I know which one you're referring to, but which ethnicities would that be?
From what I understand, now this chart, the last time I looked at this chart was maybe 2 elections ago, but I remember
Okay.
it was Taiwanese, Indonesian,
Yeah,
uh,
I've heard of Asian people doing better than white people.
yeah, and of course Nigerians and shit like that. Yeah, so typically first generation type, people who look at the opportunity in a different way. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's typically who it is. But those people aren't worried about racism or political representation. They're worried about succeeding. They're worried about getting an education, the same way our ancestors, when they came out of slavery, the quickest society to ever learn a language, to become proficient in English, the quickest society to do that because of the hunger they had. Because the same way how when integration happened, people were so hungry to go shop at white businesses. When you came out of slavery where you couldn't learn, couldn't read, they were so hungry to get an education. We can go back to that. We can go back to thinking like Booker T. Washington. We can go back to that because that was actually working. Those principles were working. And we have the statistics to show, because once we became these revolutionary civil rights minded people, everything. So the 40s and the 50s, our homicide rate dropped, dropped, dropped. And then in the 60s, it more than doubled. Where'd that come from? We have to study that. We should look at that. Some people say they already know, though, right? They already know. So, but we should look at that. And the same thing with the marriage rate. We were on pace with whites. Actually, with the marriage, we were outpacing them. And then here come the 60s, and it reverses, right? So it's the exact same
Mhm.
thing. It's before integration, the black dollar stayed in the community for I can't remember how long, maybe 18 months or something like that. But we had to because we could only shop with us. We could only shop with us. Now, when you go to Chinatown, they choose to shop with each other. They are choosing to only shop with each other. When you go to
Yeah.
the, for example, they choose to only operate as a community. They choose to. We were forced to. So that made us look down on it. That made us take it for granted. And then when we got the opportunity to shop and work with them, we ran into it thinking that it was some type of revolutionary act, thinking that spending money at their stores was somehow showing them that we were worthy, as opposed to recognizing what we already had. That mentality, that
Mhm.
is not mentality. That didn't come from us, because what we never hear about the civil rights movement is the other side. The people that the civil rights movement called the Uncle Toms, the people who wanted to stay segregated. They were considered the Uncle Toms, the ones who wanted to maintain black businesses, schools, churches, and
Is
hospitals.
that what you think should have happened? That people stayed segregated?
Yeah, let me put it this way.
How would
Right now,
that work?
I'm gonna tell you, because right now, if you talk about any major city with black people in it, one of the mainstream narratives on all of those cities is it's the most segregated city in America. People already think that way. In Philadelphia, we have a Germantown, but Germans don't live there no more. But we had a Germantown. We had the Italians in South Philly. We have a Chinatown in South Philly at the top of before you get to Broad Street. That's where the Cambodians are. It's already segregated. We work together, but we are segregated as communities. And that's how it was happening in the South. People don't understand that, though, because we only have one narrative of that history. But we don't understand that. Say, for example, Manny Johnson talks about this a lot. Manny Johnson is a well, he's deceased now, but he used to be a communist, and then he left communism, and he wrote a book about how they were manipulating black people. So that's kind of the book is called Color, Communism, and Common Sense. For those who want to look at their resource later, it's called Color, Communism, and Common Sense by Manning Johnson. If you go to archive.org, you can read it for free. Everywhere else you have to pay though. But if you go to
Hmm.
archive.org, read that book for free. So, and you go to YouTube and look up Manning Johnson's farewell address, and you'll hear him say the things I'm about to say. So when he talks about the black schools, that the black Republicans were the ones who voted for separate schools, that the AME Church are the ones who voted for separate churches. You know, so when you have separate schools, that means that you have to employ teachers. But when you integrate, those teachers lost a job. So 100,000 teachers lost a job overnight because people want to integrate. That's how you hurt yourself, by thinking that these progressive policies help you. When the black schools, ironically, they had been recently rebuilt because of some type of I can't remember, some type of campaign saying that our schools aren't up to par. So the black schools were actually newer than the white schools. That's these are the things that they don't make sense. But the point was to cripple our economy, not white supremacists. They didn't care about that because, like you said, at the end of the day, money is green. They didn't care about that.
Hmm.
That's why you have to have a law that says black people can't shop there, because the white business owner still wants that black money. You need to be able to penalize both parties. So that's why you.
So you're much more educated than I am on that specific topic of like segregation, integration. I know a little bit about the civil rights movement in the US, but it's not something I've studied extensively. We don't study that much in school here in Canada because it's not our country, right? Um, Minorities in Canada are mostly immigrants from recent generations. We have people that have been here for decades and generations that are minorities, but I think that a big difference between like the average black in Canada and the average black in the US is that like my parents are not descendants of slaves. Like they immigrated in the 90s here.
Okay.
Like if they didn't emigrate, like I wouldn't speak English. I wouldn't be on this live with you right now. Whereas I'm guessing the majority of Black Americans have some sort of ancestry that was enslaved, right?
I wouldn't know that for sure. I assume that, but I wouldn't know for sure.
I'm sure it's a large part,
Large part, yeah.
like much bigger than in some other countries. So like if you were born in the US and like it's your country. I mean, let's say like your great grandpa was abducted like generations ago and you're now born in the US, there's not really a point for you to go back to Africa because like you've never been there. Like
Mm,
America is your country.
yeah.
So if you're born in that country that has like slavery, and then like horrible like race relations between like whites and blacks,
Mm,
you'd want that situation to improve. Like I remember learning about the story of Emmett Till, and I thought it was like disgusting, like what they did to like a child, right?
mm,
Like I think it's like these two men that like beat him up. I think threw him like in a river or something. Like stuff like that, I think we can all agree is stuff that we want as little as possible in the world, if not none at all.
mm.
So I think that like having different races cohabit like peacefully is a way to avoid that type of stuff. Like let's say like you and I are both black, but if you were another ethnicity and we have this type of conversation right now,
Mm.
I feel like a conversation like this that takes a long time, you need to hear me, I need to hear you. We think about what we want to say, we agree, we disagree, we go back and forth. At the end of this, I'm much more likely to shake your hand than to try to like fight you
Mm.
physically. Because like whatever you say, at the end of the day, I'm like, you're your own person, I'm my own person. We have different experiences. We'll talk and we'll go our separate ways, and that's cool with me.
Mm.
I think that if we don't talk, and let's say like I'm blue, you're purple, I'm gonna say like that guy's different than me. And I might like pull out old tribalism that's in our DNA and just start hating you. The same way sport fans don't like each other. The same way like Republicans, Democrats, conservatives, liberals, I think that we are animals. Like we have that tribalism in us. And I think that when you have segregation where like these people are in this part of town, these people are in this part of town. You can have like, all right, the economy is bad in the whole city. Whose fault is it? Well, it's these guys over there. Let's go fuck them up, you know? Like, I'm not saying it's necessarily going to happen every time, but I just feel like if people are not collaborating, working together, uh, like playing like sports together, sending their kids like to the same schools, I feel like we're bound to have stuff we've had like in Nazi Germany where the Jews are the bad guys, what we've had in Europe where it was the gypsies, which you've had in like other countries where you have like Muslims and Christians. Like we'll always find a reason, whether it's like skin color, religion, politics, we'll find something that we can hate in another person and like just go crazy. And I think that's super dangerous. So I know you've said a lot of things about integration, and I'm not disagreeing with them. I'm just listening. I just feel like living together as different ethnicities, different ideologies, it has merit as long as we can all agree that we should strive for the betterment of our own individual lives as well as that of our country. Because if we don't agree that the country should get better, then we don't agree on anything. I think we should agree to like be probably less violent, to try to be like more productive, like economically, to come up with new ideas, to explore, to go with science, education, all of that, right? So I'm not saying integration is good, bad. I'm just saying like in my mind, the fact that nowadays you can have like anyone talking like you're in Philly. Well, maybe not right now, but like you're from Philly. I'm from Canada. My parents are African immigrants. We're talking, and like if you were a different color, we could still talk. Like as long as we know a language in common, we can talk. And I think that has a lot of power in our world. I'm gonna tie this to what I said earlier about like the rich taking advantage of COVID. Like when you have politicians that you don't trust, when you have CEOs and like big business people that make a lot of money,
Mhm.
like these people have political power, they have money, they can do stuff with that money. But like you and I talking, this is something that they can't take away. Even if they took away the phones, you could still go and talk to your neighbor. So that's kind of like the human capital you were talking about. I think that like not talking to someone else because of the color of their skin or their religion
Or
is a
political.
big loss in terms of educating yourself about where other people are coming from. It's a big loss for humanity. I don't even like saying races. I'd rather say ethnicities or nationalities because I think there's only one human race.
Yeah.
Even that, some people will want to debate that. I'm not going to go there. Like the differences between different ethnicities in terms of DNA is ridiculously ridiculously small compared to everything else we have in common.
Right.
Like we're all Homo sapiens, and I
Yeah.
think that having like we're a social creature, so I think that we benefit from collaboration,
Mhm.
and that most of us are not trying to fight and like find a culprit. But I think that our current political climate is super toxic. And I've said a lot. I'm just gonna say one last thing. I think that a big issue in politics right now is that our voting systems don't really work. What I mean by that is first past the post has been shown mathematically that no matter how many parties you start with is always going to end up with only two or one.
Mm.
One is dictatorship, we don't want that, and two is a false dichotomy where it's either you eat cake or you eat pie. How about I eat fruits? You know, it's like, do I not get a choice that's not one of the two?
Mm.
Like, uh, in first past the post, if you have, for example, five candidates, I'll use my fingers here. Like, let's say my thumb is like extreme left, my pinky is extreme right. If you vote for like the one that's a little right but not extreme right, these two kind of agree together, but they're stealing votes from one another. So eventually they'll come as one. So now you have one strong party on the right, two parties on the left stealing votes from one another, one in the center. The one in the center might also steal votes from the one on the left. So what do? They come together. In Canada here, we have multiple parties. But
Okay.
realistically, there's only two that can be elected, which are the equivalent of Republicans and Democrats in the US, left and right. We
Okay.
have a third party that kind of is represented. We have a Green Party, but like even their leaders know they're not getting elected. They're running on principle.
Yeah.
And I think that when you're down to two options to represent millions of people across huge countries like Canada and the US, they're humongous. I think you lose track of like what it truly means to be human. It's like people that are in Alaska, in Hawaii, in
Mm,
Florida, in New York, all vote for the same president in Washington. Don't you think that's crazy?
I do. But your president of your state is a different thing. That's why states' rights are important as opposed to
They
federal.
are. They are. But even in your state, because like I thought it was interesting your idea about segregation. During COVID, actually, I read the book *Sapiens*. It's a book about like human history, and I
Yeah.
thought it was super interesting. Talks about like a couple like key revolutions, like the cognitive revolution, where pretty much we went from monkey to like wise, like human.
Mm.
Um, the agricultural revolution, industrial revolution, and then I'm forgetting one. Anyway, like in that book, they mention how like for the longest time you would know only 50 to 150 people. That's it.
Mm.
Like you and I would have never talked because we're geographically too far from one another to be relevant in each other's lives. Plus, there's no technology for us to communicate.
Right.
Therefore, if you were to die tomorrow, which obviously, knock on wood, we don't want that, it wouldn't do anything in my life.
Right.
It
Right.
wouldn't do anything because I didn't even know you existed.
Yeah.
I would care about the guys I go and hunt with. I would care about the people that I farm crops with, but I wouldn't care about people on other continents.
Right.
And now that we've like globalized everything where we're all interconnected, we're like, we deal with issues that don't really relate to our immediate community. Like the most important things for a lot of people, in my opinion, should be like, how good are the teachers at your local school where you send your kids? What's the quality of the food at your grocery store?
Mm.
Are there green areas near your house where you can go and relax in nature?
Mm.
Are the roads in your town like good enough that you're not going to bust your car just driving down the street? If you were to get sick, how good is healthcare at your local hospital? I think these things matter a lot more than what the fuck Israel is doing over there. Even though it is important, I think it's like it like did you see that like in the mayoral race for New York, they were asking candidates, are you going to visit Israel? It's like, bro, I'm mayor of New York.
Right.
Why are you asking me that? It's a
Right.
weird question.
Yeah.
Why should a mayor of a city, an American city, leave said city that's dealing with a bunch of issues already, biggest city in the world, to go to another country to talk their politics? Makes no sense to me.
I get that. And that like you said, that's one of those things where they make it a political issue and now everyone has to have a conversation about it if you're having a
Mm-hmm.
conversation. I don't like that because it, like you said, it distracts from people talking about the things that are most important. You know, if somebody else has something an idea that they want to talk about, say for example, if somebody is a black politician, but they also supported Trump, they get invited to the Breakfast Club, and now they're on the Breakfast Club thinking that they're about to talk about the policies that are important to them, and every question is about Trump. You know, it's like now the person can't really talk about what's important to them. They can only defend Trump because those are all the questions, you know. So I've seen that happen. I think that is the opposite of being the opposite of progress. I was about to say progressive, but that is progressive, but it's the opposite of progress, you know. So that's not something that I'm with. I get you on that.
There's something about Trump that fascinates me, and it's like how I remember in 2015, I was just leaving high school, and I remember like when he started running, it was like, oh, like this guy, like he grabs a lot of attention, but
Mm.
we're not taking him seriously. Then he
Yeah.
became like the official nominate from the Republicans, and
Mm.
like one by one, people that like said this guy is not serious, he's a clown, he has no political experience, one by one, well, not every single one, but a lot of them joined him.
Mm.
What does that say about integrity, about what politician stands for? A lot of them stand for power, for opportunities. Like Lindsey Graham 10 years ago was calling out Trump.
Mhm.
He was saying, I think Megyn Kelly as well, like a bunch of these people that are now like on their knees begging for a higher position in the administration, defending him on Twitter, doing all these things. A bunch of these people, when he was running, were calling him out for the things that now left wingers like call out about him. But it's
Yeah.
like it means that you agreed with the points that he was saying. Like for example, I'm going to take an example. I'm not trying to bash Trump. I'm
Mhm.
just saying like a man saying you can grab him by the pussy when you're famous is
Mhm.
outrageous in my opinion.
Why?
Like that's fucked up.
Why is that
Because I
outrageous?
think
Have you ever listened
because
to hip hop? Have you ever listened to rap?
yes,
Do you listen to rap?
I do.
So
You know
how is
what? The rap that I like the most is stuff that actually has a message. When it's just like brainless bragging about money and drugs and hoes, I actually tune out. Even though
yeah,
the beat might be good, I tune out.
but my point is that's true. That those men demonstrated over and over and over again that when you are famous, you can grab them by the pussy. That's
Okay, sure, but like there's a big difference between an athlete or a rapper and the guy running for president.
he wasn't
First of
president.
all, grabbing someone by the pussy is sexual assault.
Was he a
Like
president?
I think with
Was he the
that,
president when he said it though?
he was a candidate. He was like on the presidential like race scene, you know? Like
Was he saying it?
okay, I know actually no, it's not true. That he said that in like 2005. So no, but still, like there's something about Trump that I think a lot of people respect is the fact that he doesn't back down. But don't you think that sometimes there are things that you will say that maybe you should be like, all right, guys, that one, like, let's forget about this one, not my best quote. Like, there's this attitude nowadays that if you ever apologize, if you ever backtrack, if you ever admit that you didn't know or that you fucked up, you're showing weakness. So what does that do? It just means that people in power are going to act like actual psychopaths. Is that good?
See, this is the because what you're talking about is kind of like a moral slash professional argument. And when you're a person that doesn't really believe in being politically correct, you're going to always look crazy in that arena when you're not being politically correct. But politically correct is nothing more but clever marketing. It's not your person. We don't know who Obama actually is. We've never met him.
That's true. That's true. But
That's so why
okay,
is that's
can
what
can I can I ask you your opinion? Like that statement, like forget that it's Trump. Someone just says you can grab him by the pussy when you're famous. What do you think of that?
that's why I brought up hip hop because I've been rapping those lyrics my entire life. One of my favorite songs when I was a kid was Rump Shaker. I didn't even know what a rump was at that time.
Hmm.
I saw the music video until I was an adult, like in my 30s. I'm like, wait, that's when I was singing at 8 years old. That was my favorite song on the radio. It's disgusting.
Yeah,
It's common. And it's true. We know. If you got enough money, you could buy whoever you want. And if you have enough status, they'll let you do whatever you want. That's the truth.
okay, but
Why fighting the man for that?
like you don't have children, do you?
No, I don't have any kids.
Me neither. But let's say I had a daughter. I wouldn't feel good about the most powerful man in America or in the world saying shit like that and then just being like, yeah, off to school you go. That football QB, he can just grab you by the pussy. Like, no, what the fuck?
Yeah,
Like
you
that's fucked up. I think that we should
that
call out
way
shit like that. When it's said in a rap song, it's
you
entertainment.
got to
But
teach.
when you have
That's the
was
problem.
that
That's at the end of the day, that's your job. You have to teach your daughter not to idolize rappers. That's what gets her from getting her pussy grabbed. That's what stops that from happening. At the end of the day,
sure, sure.
I
But
would do
like
because these little girls listen to Sexy Red, right? Who talk about my booty hole brown, my pussy pink, right? You see what I'm saying? Why aren't we mad at that? You feel me?
I
Because she's the
mean,
role model
okay.
to the girls.
You know what? I'm gonna leave this debate for women to have between themselves because I'm not gonna go and tell Sexy Red what she can't rap about.
Okay.
But I do have a big problem with a guy that wants to run for president that like would say something like that. And yeah, sure, he did say it 10 years before he would run.
Yeah. You know,
But
like
like,
Kevin, remember when Kevin, well, you might not know, but remember when Kevin Hart got canceled and he couldn't do the Oscars because
yeah, for
uh,
the thing about like gay,
11
yeah,
years ago? Yeah,
yeah,
11
yeah.
years ago. Remember when,
I
see, this is, let me just say this point real quick. This is the thing when it, that's like the COVID fear thing. It's certain things you just have to put into people's minds in order to shut down their rationality. So if I make it a moral issue, like if I say that Trump's not presidential or anything like that, right? That doesn't, that say no. Let's just go to the grab him by the pussy thing. Women were literally saying, "I can't vote for this man because he said that." Meanwhile, Joe Biden was also actually accused of going up a woman's dress and grabbing her vagina. Actually, allegations of him doing it. We have Trump
I'm not
on.
gonna defend Biden.
Me either. That's not the point. That's what I'm trying to get you to understand. That's not the point. My point is people don't think when it could, it's about who they like or who they don't like. It's not about rationality. It's about psychological manipulation. Trump says grab him by the pussy, which is true. When you are famous, you got money to let you grab him by the pussy. Not every woman, but we have a thing called groupies. That's a real thing.
Mm.
They go up at the concert, they go backstage. That's what they do. They have
I mean,
sex
a groupie
with
probably
us.
like consents to being like with the famous person.
Yes, but we also have stories of groupies who are now suing for sexual assault. So hold on, let me
Yeah.
just finish the point. All right, so we
Yeah.
have a thing called groupies, right? So we know that it's true that men in power that have money, they have different rules. When women have different rules when they relate to these men, right? There are women who are willing to sleep with the man's entourage just to get to the famous guy.
Mm.
You understand what I'm saying? That's the reality of the situation. Now we can make women all perfect and all Powerpuff Girls and all that shit, but they're humans. They're filthy beasts just like us. At the end of the day, they have dirty minds and they have desires that they're afraid to share and all that shit too. They're humans. They're animals just like us. So when
Mm.
we see them acting crazy and screaming and ready to just give up the box to some famous dude, we might look at that as bad behavior. But
To me,
just like
it's like you do you with your body.
my
If that's
point.
not how you roll, don't do it.
My point. So that's what the conversation should be when it comes to Trump. That's what the conversation should be. He says they let me grab him by the pussy. Well, which women let him grab him by the pussy? All women? Probably not. But the ones that do it, we got to let them do what they do. And the fact that he was saying that in a locker room type of conversation where he wasn't supposed to be recorded means that he was just being himself. Who knows what type of conversations we get if Obama or Biden was secretly recorded or Clinton was secretly recorded. We just don't know. So that's
Sure.
one thing. That's one thing. So when we make that stuff, when we make it about grandma's going to die or I don't want my daughter to be in this type of world, that shuts off our reasoning. It makes it an emotional type of thing, which shuts down the logic. And that's how they manipulate us. Because of course, like with COVID, how many died? One is too many. Only 20 unarmed black people are killed by the police. Well, one is too many. Well, what
Mm.
if? Let's go back to the earlier argument. It's only 1% of trans. Well, what if one person decides to put on a wig so that they can sexually assault women? How many is too many? What if only one 8-year-old gets the surgery? How many is too many? That's what I'm saying. When you make the argument emotional, it shuts down the reason. We can't have an actual conversation because in the real world, billionaires get to grab women by the pussy, and it's not sexual assault when the women came to the place to get their pussy grabbed because they wanted to be in a building with a billionaire. That's the
Mm.
reality of the situation. Trump never said, go grab women by the pussy. He never said, I'm pro sexual assault. He says, I'm a billionaire. They let me get different rules, just like rappers say, right? When Cameron was like, she give me head, no wash up, no nothing, right after I play ball. You hear what I said, y'all?
Nasty.
That's, but that song is over 20 years old.
Mm.
That's not. That's my point. We have an entire culture that literally makes these people who say these things millionaires.
But see, when you're talking about human capital, don't you think that we should all try not to like elevate people that have fucked up values and that are just degenerates and thieves and unethical? Like obviously like people are going to be people. Like I'm not trying to police other people's actions, But at a certain point, it's if if you decide to hang out with people who you know are pieces of shit in your daily life, that's your choice. But to
Hmm.
make these people rich and powerful and famous, I mean, I don't know. I think it's kind of disappointing. It shows every time you see someone what's her face, like Bad Baby, Cash Me Outside Girl, when you see people like that, or like Hawk Tuah, girls like that, or I say girls, people like that in general get famous. A lot of the comments are like, "What the fuck are we doing as a society?" And I kind of agree. I don't think that Hawk Tuah is ruining the world. Far from that. But it's also why do we care about this girl? She said one funny thing for 3 seconds, and now she has a podcast and a cryptocurrency. The fuck?
Yeah, yeah.
What are we doing?
Attention is
I don't
currency.
know. Yeah.
But it's really, at the end of the day, what I had to realize was it's more of an indictment on the larger society than it is on that individual. It works.
But I
That,
think you said a lot of things earlier about how different institutions and people try to shape society. Well, I think we're always being shaped. So, if you're 10, 11,
mm,
and because your parents are exhausted after work, they
mm,
put you in front of a screen so they can just chill for a second, then
mm,
you're going to start seeing Octua and Bad Baby, like Cash Me Outside, shit like that. And you're being programmed from a young age.
mm,
So, yeah, you have free will. You can do whatever you want, but if from a young age everything you've seen is over sexualization,
mm.
money over everything, power, violence, like at a certain point, you just become numb and you're this weird like postmodern human that's just chasing dopamine and the new thing, like carrots, you know? I
Mhm.
feel like even though I'm not fully with you on segregation, I think that if we could all go back to what truly matters, like our immediate community, our families, our values, our hobbies, our jobs. Hopefully, they're somewhat meaningful. Meaningful the jobs, and just take a second to breathe in, breathe out, and think what is it that I'm on this planet for? What is it that matters to me? I think a lot of us would realize yeah, it's kind of weird to
Hmm.
want to be the person that gets clipped saying Hawk Tuah, spin on that thing, and now that's your career. Did you see, this is a little niche, but did you see the Ibiza final boss meme?
No.
Okay, it's kind of random. It's just this dude this summer that he had a bowl haircut,
Okay.
tattoos, buff guy, and someone took a picture of him and just captioned it Ibiza final boss. And that was it. He became a meme. He's gonna be boxing in some weird Jake Paul undercard soon enough. And it's kind of the classic back in 2016 it was Salt Bay. He does a thing with the salt and now he's famous. It's who gives a fuck about any of this? I feel before,
I
you're
t-
older than me, before you at least needed to win American Idol to be somewhat relevant, you know?
Idol, yeah.
Now it's literally just clip yourself for 4 seconds and do a thing that's recognizable.
Yes.
I don't know. It's weird.
But like I say, at the end of the day, it's an indictment on the larger society more than it is on the person, because
Hmm.
the person famous, and that's it. It's the people. It's like a whole thing, because attention or eyeballs is money. You know what I mean? So if
Hmm.
enough eyeballs, I need you to stand over here so that I can sell my product to those people who look at you. So it's kind of like
Hmm.
that. And like I said, with the policies that create inflation and stuff, you just have to incentivize the behavior, and then you could stand back and just let it organically, go. So in those situations, that's how I look at it. I don't think that certain ideas and people should be where they're at, but I have to sit back and say there's a reason that they are. These people are endorsing
Hmm.
them, are playing their music. These people are watching their programs and giving them streams and giving them views and allowing them to succeed. So I have to
Yeah.
sit back. That's what, and the thing that we didn't have before, because we have the internet, because we typically got our information from places that had very limited shelf space. You couldn't have things like they call it the long tail. You couldn't be so niche to be able to cater to an audience that wants to see the Hawk Tuah girl and also wants to
Hmm.
see skater who can do a backflip, you know, because people are a spectrum on that sense. But before, you only had TV, you only had the
Mhm.
newspaper, you only had Blockbuster, you only had the movies, and those things have limited shelf space. So you
Mhm.
couldn't ever be introduced to the long tail. You know, front page, that had to be the most important thing. That had to be the most important thing. And now you can go viral. You don't have to be on the front page.
Let me ask you a question. Like, how do you feel about the role of capitalism in our current society? And this is a bit of a leading question. Feel free to take it wherever you want, but I'm asking that because obviously we all need to eat, right?
Yeah.
But the fact that like productivity is what like is I'm not gonna say it's the end all be all, but it's like one of the most important things in this system. It's like you need to be productive and ideally more than last year means that we'll keep selling, creating, producing, consuming until we die.
Mm.
Like I'm lucky I found education as a field and I'm very passionate about it. You yourself, I would say you're like what you do, you're like self-employed, right? You're your own boss and you're educating people as well, plus you get to have your fun. So
Yeah.
like you found a career that works for you. I'm sure most people are just trying to pay the bills. Because like if you're working some, no offense to people that do that, but like some boring office job or you're working retail somewhere in a factory, most people are not going to be passionate about it. You might
Right.
feel pride in what you're producing. You might like your coworkers. You might, but
Mm.
at the end of the day, you're not like passionate about fucking whatever it is that you're creating. You're just doing it because you need to. And I feel like a system where we just are trying to get like that the rat race, we're just trying to get enough money to survive to do a little bit more. And we spend so little time thinking and asking to ourselves, like, where am I going with this? Like the company I'm working for example, like, let's say you work for like an insurance company. It's like when I'm taking that case, it's a real person whose healthcare I'm denying. When I work for DraftKings, it's real 18-year-olds that I'm making addicted to gambling. Like there are all these like ways where we distance ourselves with our real actions just by saying, well, I needed a paycheck.
Right.
I'm not the one putting the gun in their hand. They're doing it. Well, we're all contributing. And I think that capitalism like has misplaced human value in a way that's very sad. Like I heard this quote, this is not from me, where like it was saying like we fucked up with capitalism by having two by fours being worth more than trees that
Mm.
actually produce oxygen. And sure, you might need two by fours to build your house, but you need two by fours to like, I don't know, like build your sixth cottage
Mm.
that you fly to weekly while people are starving. I don't know. Like I have a weird relationship with capitalism where I'm like I'm aware that it works for many things. I'm aware that it's capitalism that allows me to buy a phone like after like a day or two of work and then be able to talk to you like from this far away distance. But I also think that it brings out the worst of us. Like all these things that we've talked about, a lot of them are driven by money and
Mm.
people want more of it. Even though if you're worth 10 million, 20 million, 100 million, it's like more, more, more. Like and like even this app that we're talking on, like it's owned by Mark Zuckerberg, who's already like what 200, 300 billionaire, and like they're always trying to crank it so that you spend more time and more time on that app.
Mm.
Like like I don't I'm an optimistic person, but I see a lot of what we're doing right now, and I said earlier like you can buy elections now. You got inflation, you got this, you got that. You only have two parties. I feel like we need to hit rock bottom where like people are in the streets, kind of like in 2020 when people people went crazy in 2020,
Mm.
or like how some people are doing it in certain countries right now. Like you need stuff to get like horrible where like left, right stops existing and people are just like we're fed up. We're fed up all around. Kind of like a French Revolution sort of thing.
Okay.
Because like I don't see things getting better. I want them to get better. Like But like housing, for example, like housing is more of an investment vehicle than it is a place to live nowadays.
Hmm.
With rent going up year after year after year, it's like even if you can't own a house, your rent is still going to go up, and your salary probably won't,
Right.
and food is going to keep going up. So at a certain point, it's like people are like, "Oh, get a side hustle, get educated." Sure, but like at a certain point, we're squeezing the fuck out of the bottom 50%.
Yeah.
And I say that like I'm not poor. I'm good, but I do care a lot about like the vulnerable. So yeah, I guess it's not really a question anymore. It's just like I just want to talk about capitalism a little bit.
Okay. I mean, me personally, I love capitalism. I don't love hyper consumerism though. That's what I don't like.
Hmm.
Before the 20s, we had capitalism. We didn't have hyper consumerism. We didn't have that because there wasn't those big box stores. There people bought what they needed, and this shit
Hmm.
lasted. They had all
Hmm.
the trousers they needed. They had all the blouses they needed. They had all the coats they needed, all the hats they needed, all the shoes they needed. And if somebody's like, well, how do I get them to continue to buy from me? Well, that's what fucks up capitalism because that's hyper consumerism.
Hmm.
That's taking the marketing and putting it on steroids. That's why I always talk about Edward Bernays, because he is the architect of this matrix that we currently live in where nothing is authentic because everyone has to sell to you. But before that, people
Hmm.
said, buy these tires because they last this many miles. Buy this
Yeah.
car, this many miles per gallon. That those are
Hmm.
that sell. Now we sell benefits, and that's my marketing niche. So that's why I'm really familiar with it. So what ends up happening is typically if you're not providing value, nobody's going to buy your shit. If you have a big enough company and you're able to manipulate the minds, maybe they'll buy your shit for a little while, but they won't keep buying your shit unless they find value in it. And at the end of the day,
Hmm.
that boils down to the people. So the big box places, say for example, Kmart's out of here, Blockbuster's out of here. A lot of these places are out of here. They're out of here because at one point in time they serve value. They might have even been manipulated, but then people found value in something else. Like with Amazon,
Hmm.
the real value with Amazon is you can get anything at your door. You don't have to go out to Walmart and deal with the Walmartians. You don't have to go to Target and deal with the Targians. You don't have to do any of that shit. You can just whatever you want, it can be shipped right to your door. And sometimes the exact same day. It's just about convenience. That is their benefit. That is what they offer to society that allow Bezos to become who he is. So same thing with Zuckerberg. He connected people. He brought people together in a way that we had never experienced before. That was the value that he provided. At the end of the day, did they also add in the jackpot, the slot machine thing and all that shit? Yes, they did. That is for
Hmm.
us against though. That's for us to be educated, us to be equipped, and to be knowledgeable and aware enough so that it doesn't work on us. That's why I talk about propaganda, so that people can.
That's fair, but like there are things like human psychology that you can exploit without someone knowing. And what that's like, I'm not going to say that marketing is always evil, but there's a lot of deception in marketing. I'm trying to make you do something with your dollars that benefits me and maybe you.
Well,
Maybe
to
you. Maybe it's just me,
person,
but it's
see,
mainly about,
that's how
yeah,
we.
go ahead.
Like I don't drink soda. I think soda is,
Hmm.
but other people love Pepsi. They love Pepsi. Some people love coffee. I don't drink coffee either. I just drink water. That's my thing, you know. But I like to drink water that tastes good too. So even
Yeah.
there, there's a product for me as opposed to just being a water drinker who could drink spigot water if they wanted to. I'd rather
Yeah.
drink alkaline water. It tastes better, So
Hmm.
there's a market for that. So at the end of the day, it's up to the person. That's why I said it's the reason that you only ever see me in Hanes t-shirts in my videos is because I know about Edward Bernays. So I don't buy clothes to represent myself that way. I buy clothes because it's a shirt. I buy the most simplest clothing that I can, and then I
What
wear it.
about your Nike hat?
So this was a gift. This was a birthday gift.
All right, fair enough. I say that I'm wearing Nike too, so like I'm not any better.
Hey, Nike is good. It's quality. It is quality. That's what I have
Yeah.
to. I could go to Walmart and buy some sweatpants. They're not gonna last as long as the Nike ones. So that
Yeah.
incentivizes me the Nike ones. But what I don't want to do is have to buy the Nike Tech because that's what's gonna make women like me. I don't like that. I don't want the clothes to
Yeah.
be my personality. But that's Edward Bernays
But
telling.
what if it does though?
What's that?
Like like maybe not the Nike Tech, but let's say like a nice car. A nice car does attract eyes on you. It doesn't
That
guarantee that anyone's gonna like fuck with you in the long run,
right.
but I would definitely say that having a nice car is beneficial to the person who owns it, especially when you're a man.
That's true.
So like at a certain point, we're all gonna fall for certain things. Like
Mhm.
we're there's none of us that are immune
Right.
unless you're like in a tribe that's uncontacted or you're like some like Buddhist monk. Like
But
if
have there,
you live in like a city, you are being marketed to every second of the day.
yeah, that's a
So
fact.
you cannot pretend like you're gonna block everything out. Like
No,
there's no such thing. You can be less inclined to always fall for what's being offered to you,
yeah,
sure, but we're all gonna fall for some stuff. And like I uh
unless you learn
I
marketing,
don't
unless you learn.
sure, but there's always gonna be a like a smarter person that does marketing that gets to you. Because like think of like Jeffrey Epstein, like he was manipulating people that usually are the ones that are in control in the room. There's always a bigger guy, a smarter guy that
Yes,
can, you know what I mean?
but the tactics of manipulation do not change. They don't change. That's so they stay the same, and then they just like say for example, Edward Bernays is not his shit is not as good as today's shit, right? They've taken it and they've put it on steroids because they are able to do much more data collection than he ever was able to do. That makes them
Mhm.
in better than him, but the
So
principles are still the same.
I'm not I'm not familiar with the Bernays guy that you're referring to, but I'm guessing he's a guy that like was a like a pioneer in marketing and like
In
like
public, he's they
okay,
call him the father of propaganda. He literally wrote the book Propaganda. His uncle was Sigmund Freud, so that's once his uncle wrote the book on psychoanalytics, he sent it to his nephew, and his nephew read it and was like, oh, and he was already
that's something that's a point that I've made with people in the past where I said like I find it pretty fucked up that some people are going to study the human mind, psychology, and all these like interesting sciences and decide to go work for like Big Cigarette. I'm like, what the fuck? Like you could be like helping people and still be rich. You
yeah.
could be publishing books, but you decide to sell out. To me, it's so disappointing.
Well,
It's
see,
like you're that smart and you use it for such an not even, I'm not even going to say evil. I'm going to say useless thing.
okay, okay. Well, I mean, it depends. It's like maybe they take, now this is just hypothetical, but maybe they become a millionaire and then their kid who hates cigarettes because their mom passed away from lung cancer or something takes that and becomes that type of philanthropist. Those are the things we can just never dictate. But at the end of the day,
Sure.
at the end of the day, you said you can't tell Sexy Red not to rap about her butthole.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
can't, you can't,
But
I mean,
look, it's like, I think that there are things that harm humanity, and I care about the betterment of humanity. Look, if I hear on the news that like this country is going through a civil war, I'm gonna think it's sad. I'm not gonna cry about it because there's nothing I can do about it. And it's like so far away from me that I'm not gonna like feel the urge to cry. But in my mind, I'm like, man, I wish this wouldn't happen.
yeah.
The same way I wish, like, like when like vapes became super popular. That's when I was leaving high school. So in the last 10 years, like, like for my whole life before that,
Oh no.
that no, I'm
Oof.
still here. It's
All
like
right.
I have this reminder to like leave Instagram every 15 minutes because like I don't want to spend too much time on it. But like it's anyway. Um, when I was in like elementary school and stuff, like they did a pretty good job at letting us know, like, yo, if you smoke cigarettes, that shit is gonna shorten your life.
Yeah.
And while you're alive, it's also gonna like cost you a bunch of money, affect your health. You're gonna have shit cardio. You're gonna be coughing, blah blah blah. Like they told us, like, and in my opinion, it wasn't propaganda. It was like, look,
Yeah.
cigarettes are legal. You can buy them if you want, but here's why you shouldn't.
Yeah.
And these messages were often like publicly funded. So to me, it was like responsible adults putting money and time to good use to help us in the future while they could still like shape our young minds.
Right, right.
Then all that went out the window when they came out with a little thing that lights up when you suck on it, and it tastes like fruit. And I'm like, sure, there's someone right now that's on a yacht because they sold enough vapes.
Mm.
But like, is that your contribution to the world? Is that what you wanted to do? It's like sell vapes to like kids who are gonna have like popcorn lung in a couple of years. And like I don't know, I just find it very sad. And obviously I think it should be legal because I'm not a big fan of like huge government that says like this is illegal, because that I think that's also slippery. But I think that we should, I don't know how we'll do that, to be honest, but I think we should value humanity as a community that we all want to make better. We should feel a sense of shame when we're selling like something that's gonna hurt people. I'm gonna sound like a fucking hippie dreamer here, but like my idea of like the perfect business would be like a small uh like like local like pastry shop or whatever, where like you know your customers by name. They come to you because your muffins, your bagels are fresh,
Yeah.
and because they trust you, you're in their community, not some frozen, made on the other side of the country, like generic bullshit that doesn't even taste good,
Mm.
like that's full of like with an ingredient list like so long that you don't even know what's half of it is. Like, and obviously, like if we live like that, most of us wouldn't be too rich. Our houses wouldn't be big. We wouldn't be traveling all over the world. But I do feel like with a little bit of like healthcare and good education, would still be happier. Because I
Mm.
don't think that this phone that you and I are both holding in our hands right now are making us happier. It allows us to communicate, to
Mm.
educate ourselves, to do a bunch of things, to make money. But do they make us happier on average? I want to argue, fuck no. They make us anxious. They make us envious of others. They tell us about the worst things going on in the world. They allow you to buy the new fucking fart coin on, like, you know what I mean? Like they allow so much like low energy, low vibration human behavior that it brings me to question the whole system of capitalism. Because capitalism, to me, it's kind of like clickbait. It doesn't matter why you're watching my content, as long as you give me that ad revenue, give me that view.
Mm.
It doesn't matter if you're a 3-year-old with the iPad on autoplay, or if you're someone who's agreeing, disagreeing, just give me the views. Like, I find that a sad way to measure human worth.
Well, the easiest solution to that is don't. And I don't think you do, but that's the, like I said earlier, that's the thing about the long tail. The long tail, it allows for the smallest pocket of people and ideas, regardless of how crazy they are, it allows those people to become in the forefront. Like the 1%, when we talk about the trans thing, they are in the,
What's long tail?
oh, that's, I'm sorry, I didn't get to explain it earlier. Long tail is basically, and I think it's about to cut us off in maybe 5 minutes. So I'll say this and I'll
Hmm.
let you. So long tail is basically like Blockbuster. They only show you the blockbusters. They only show you the hits, right? That's all they play. It's like top 40. Top 40 only plays the guaranteed hits. That's all they have space
Hmm.
for. Only had enough space for the best movies. But then you get a Netflix, and Netflix has unlimited space because it's digital. So they can give you that movie that's that cult movie that only a couple people really know about, and nobody ever really talks about that movie. They can put that on Netflix, and now everybody knows about that movie because they're able to show you what's called the long tail, like on a graph, right? It's this is the peak here, and then it slants like this. People typically wouldn't worry about the things down here. It doesn't make you enough money, doesn't have enough attention, not a big enough audience, right? They only focus on this part, really. This is
Hmm.
the buster type shit. This is the long tail down here. So with that, a person can say, I want to be a furry. A person can say, I want to only teach about this. niche that they always talk about. I only want to talk about underwater basket weaving, and it's like, well, who's into that? You don't have to be into that. My crowd is into that, and they will
Hmm.
come to. I have this, we're decentralized and shit. I can find them from all over the world. So that's what the long tail is. So that's the reason why the weirdest things, besides the fact that there's a rage economy and an engagement economy and stuff like that, those things they feed into what you say. But what I think eventually happens is over time people become blind to those things and then they stop associating with them. Like there used to be the for sale signs on at cars, used car salesmen, and they have the spiky yellow spiky thing around it. Now, by now, that the spiky thing, now people see that and they think, oh, that's a cheesy car salesman.
Hmm.
But first it used to work. And then people would develop what's called ad blindness. They evolve. It's like you look back at the
Hmm.
movie to scare the shit out of you, and you're like, wow, I can see the zipper on the costume now. It's you just
Hmm.
you evolve as the marketing and stuff evolves. So at the end of the day, what it really boils down to is someone needs to be teaching people about these marketing tactics and psychological manipulation so that they can become aware of it. Then you don't have to worry about what the businesses do because they will fail on their own. That's I
All right. I was gonna say before I cut off, like you were saying, like we should educate people about marketing and propaganda and how people are trying to influence you and like shape how you act.
Mhm.
The unfortunate thing is, like in this current system, you have a way bigger incentive monetarily to join the dark side than to educate the masses. And if you try to educate the masses, it's not only that you're going to make less money, they're also going to come after you. Because like if you try to reveal secrets like the Big Mac sauce recipe or Coca-Cola recipe, people will come after you. And this is like a metaphor because you know that like the real stuff we're talking about is much darker than just food.
yeah.
Like like the secrets that allow people to get millions and billions are well guarded. And if you start talking too much, you might fall out of a window or like disappear or something, right? Like this is in America or like in North America where you're free, but in certain countries like in China, like Jack Ma, I think is the CEO of Alibaba or something. When he started talking too much, they were like, hey, "Come here, buddy. Let's talk a little bit." Disappeared for a couple months, came back, and nope, nothing to say anymore. Like that to me is very scary because it's a rigged game where if you've amassed enough money and power, you have the monopoly on speech. Sure,
Mhm.
you can let people post memes and talk to their friends, but
Mhm.
the second they start saying stuff that really shakes the current system, whoa, 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 like no, 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 and like you get the whole machine going after you.
Yeah.
Like I don't think I'm like powerful enough to scare any politician, but if they wanted to go after me, they would try to find dirt and try to ruin my local career or do stuff that's gonna like shut me up, right? So in a sense, when I was talking about like the my dislike for capitalism earlier, that's one of the things that on top of like buying elections and like fucking up the environment to me is horrible is that at a certain point you have so much money and power that the game is now rigged. There's no such thing as like winning. It's kind of like in Monopoly. If in Monopoly I have like hotels on like three different colors and you have the only money you get is like by passing go, how are you going to ever win? Like you cannot win. Like the game, we can roll the dice forever, you'll never win. Like, and that's how it is. And I think that Monopoly was actually created so that people can see that like end game capitalism gets really like unfair and really brutal. So like I don't have a solution. I just think that like I said earlier, I think it's gonna get much worse before it gets better. Because currently we're living through that. We're like, all right, billionaires can go on an island and do horrible things. They can pollute 100 times more than the average person does in a lifetime with one flight. They can do whatever they want. They can they can break the whole economy in 2008 and not see a single day in jail for
Mhm.
stuff that they knew was going to happen. They can orchestrate a whole pandemic and do whatever they want. Like nothing happens. And
Mm.
I think that when normal people will realize that more and more, because I think a lot of people are aware, but once it's like, all right, 99% of people are like, what the fuck is going on? And hopefully it's not too late. We're not already like I'm gonna like joke here, like like the microchips, like with the vaccine, like we're not all chipped in our little cell eating our bugs, like the conspiracies, like if we can somehow resist, I think there's potential for things to get better. But realistically, I think, like I said, it's gonna get worse before it gets better. I think that capitalism has a lot of um, great benefits, but I think its flaws are devastating, and we're seeing it right now.
But that's the thing. That's one of the things that I like about the conservative side is that they don't believe in like that euphoria. Is that the word I'm looking for? Basically, they don't believe in like that solution that one size. They don't believe that everybody's going to be satisfied. They believe in trade-offs, and that's more realistic. That with every system that you have, there's going to be good and there's going to be bad from it because there's going to be good people using it and bad people using it. So that's why like a well-informed society, I think, is the greatest weapon against that type of stuff because you just don't participate. Like
Do you think our society is well informed?
no, that's why I do what I do on my
Why
page.
why is it not well informed?
Because, well, what I'm going to say is because most people live in a left wing echo chamber, and those people are being used. Well, I don't know what it is
Do,
in
do,
Canada, but let me point out. Let me make my point so I can show you what I mean by that. Okay, so I didn't know anything about liberals or conservatives before 2016. I didn't know anything about. I didn't really know the difference between the Democrat platform or the Republican platform. I don't even know what I knew. I just knew that I didn't like Republicans. I didn't even really know why, but I knew that. So I wasn't
well, I
informed.
think there's a mental like association between Republicans and racism.
My point, and that's what I'm saying. You can only arrive at that conclusion if you live in an echo chamber. See that
I'm not sure about that, but go on, go on.
my point because this is what I typically ask people. When I say that to them, they think it's so outlandish. I thought so too, because like when Trump first got out there, I swore all the news networks loved that man because in my thinking, when you don't like somebody, you don't talk about them. They talked about him all the time, but I never actually listened to
He's
what they.
money.
Well, yeah, exactly. I never listened to what they were saying though. When I listened to what they were saying, I was like, oh shit, they hate this man. I thought
Yeah.
everybody so that was how. So that's why I understand why people don't see that they live in a liberal echo chamber because I didn't. Because I thought the media, the left wing media, liked Trump. But hold on, that's not my point. That's not actually my point. All right. So when I ask people, what news do you watch? No one watches Fox. We're all told not to watch Fox. That's
Well,
one.
you
But it's on.
ask you ask black people, or you just ask people, period.
Yeah, I'm talking about black people. I'm talking about black people.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
yeah, that's the only people I knew. You know what I mean? So that's what people. So uh, who do you listen to? They don't listen to Fox. Most of them say they don't watch the news, but they definitely don't listen to Fox. I asked them, what are the conservative musicians you listen to? They can't name one. Tell me a movie that was
I
more
don't
pro.
really know like I don't know like the musicians that I listen to what their politics is, but
Well, in
go
America we
on.
do because they literally be with the Democrats. You never see them with the Republicans because that's bad. You only see them with the liberals, the Democrats.
Do you
So
know do you know who The Rock votes for?
who?
I don't. The
Well, yeah,
Rock, Dwayne Johnson.
he told us he voted for Biden. That's why he lost a lot of followers that year. He told us. But that's what I'm.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's
Because some people don't come out and say it. Some people you just don't
sure.
know.
Have to see. That's the thing. I'm not talking about who you vote for. I'm talking about ideology, liberal ideology. That part sets up who you vote for. That part sets up who you don't vote for. That part creates social pressure.
I'm not trying to be nitpicky, but let's say you're in Hollywood, you might be a Republican, but you're gonna like pretend that you're just neutral
Why?
because it's Hollywood.
Yes, but you don't
Well,
have to pretend
that's
you're liberal. You don't have to. You don't have to pretend. You can
I
actually.
know, I know, but that's the same thing as if like if right now I decide to go work a blue collar job, I'm not gonna come in there saying like where are the tampons in the men's bathroom. I'm
Right.
gonna like
Where Black
I'm
Lives
gonna
Matter.
toe the line because like it's
So,
self-preservation. If you're surrounded with people
hold
that
up,
have a certain belief,
because you didn't
it's
finish my point. You didn't actually let me finish my point.
sorry,
Because I
sorry.
could, the things that you're saying was going to take y'all track. So in that sense, what I'm saying when a person lives in a liberal echo chamber, when you listen to certain music, like say for example, YG, fuck Donald Trump. Yeah, nigga, fuck Donald Trump. He don't have to tell me who he
Mm,
voted for. You see what I'm saying?
yeah,
When
yeah.
Beyonce at the Kamala rally, when you see Cardi at the Kamala rally, when you see Eminem at the Kamala rally, you don't have to ask who they voting for. They might not even vote, but they're anti-Trump. You don't know of any rappers until like Kanye, and then in like after closer to like 2024, more people start to come out. But they were demonized by the larger society. The larger society, the larger hip hop community was against Wayne for being pro Trump.
Someone's knocking on the door.
Yeah, it's probably Uber Eats. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second.
All good.
All right. Okay. So you're going to get conservative messages in places like the church, and that's really it. Other than that, outside of that, everything is liberal when it comes to the larger society. That's why I ask people, who are the conservative rappers? You can't really name one. They're all liberal. Who are the conservative actors? Where are the conservative movies? Where are the conservative TV shows? Where are the TV shows that are so pro-conservative? You don't really find them. Like Seventh Heaven, maybe
So
more Christian liberal, to be honest with
where you're from in Philly, I'm guessing you're from a predominantly black area.
you. Yeah, South
Is
Philly.
that correct? Okay.
Well, we have some
See,
Italian.
like, okay, but just right there, you and I have different realities. I I live in a city that has a lot of immigrants, but personally, like the schools I went to through elementary school and high school, I was a small minority. Like I was surrounded by white people, couple Asians, couple Arabs, but like I was a small minority. So if I ask people what media do you listen to, I'm not only asking black people or mainly black people, I'm asking different demographics. So right there, we might get different answers, you and I. We're also in different countries.
Real simple.
And
It's blue. It's real simple because no matter where I go, if I say I like Trump, everyone in the room turns on me. Black, Asian, white. Doesn't matter. Hispanic. It doesn't matter.
I mean,
It's liberal. That's
sure, there are a lot of people that will be like, how dare you vote for Trump as a black man? But you can dismiss that. You're allowed to
Bush.
dismiss that.
Bush Senior. You see what I'm saying? You don't vote Republican
But
as a
look
American.
at Candace Owens. Candace Owens is one of the biggest like conservative content creators, and she's a black woman. Not only black, black and a woman.
Yes. And guess what? The
So
community
like,
protects her. They don't protect her as a black woman. When white people
well,
talk to her, they don't protect her from the white people. She is not seen as a part of the. That's my
I
point, bro.
mean, I don't owe shit to Candace Owens because we have the same skin color. If I
Of
disagree
course
with her,
not. See, brother. This is what this is why I want to actually. This is why I need to be asking you the questions because that is a moot point for real. Because that's not what that is even about. The fact is, the larger society rejects her. The larger society does not protect her as a black woman. I'm not saying that you owe her anything. I'm saying that the larger society treats other black people, the liberal black people, as if they owe them something. It's just because you are black that makes voting for Trump offensive to other blacks because to them you owe them something as a black person with this skin. That's why they don't like Candace. It's not even because they listen to the things she says, because they can't even hear her because of her ideology. That's the point.
I personally, I've listened to Candace Owens a couple of times, and I just there's a lot of things that she says that I disagree with. I will
Mhm.
say I think she's
You don't agree 100%,
articulate. I think
though,
she's
do you?
articulate. I think she's smart. I think she's educated. But there's a lot of stuff that she says that I disagree with. It doesn't mean that
But
I hate her.
but
It
you don't
just means
body 100%.
I don't agree. And that's I'm allowed to not agree with her. And I think that it's
That,
great that
see,
even though we share the same skin
where
color, we
you're
can
going,
disagree.
you're not going where I'm going with that. That's why I have to stop you, because that point right there is that very noble argument that stops us from seeing the actual issue I'm talking about. Because I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about larger society. And even though you don't disagree, you might disagree with her and all that type of shit, you might not see her as not black because of that, but the larger society does, brother. That's what I'm trying to get you to
Oh
understand.
yeah, oh yeah. I do think that this
So
part
this
where
is
as
conservative
a
ideology. That's my point. The larger
black Latino, as a woman, as a worker, as a this, as a that, you should be voting this or that. I think that's a huge issue. It goes
that,
back to what I said earlier, when you only have two options and you have to fall in one
well,
of the two categories,
well,
that's messed up.
that's see, we're getting past the point. Where the reason that she's treated that way is because the larger society in America is liberal. That's my point.
Is it though? Because Trump's president right now.
Yeah, Trump's a liberal. Trump's not a conservative. It's very
What?
yeah, grab him by the pussy is not conservative, brother. That's not a conservative principle. saying
Yeah, but
that,
he's
saying
not
that,
running on that.
saying
So you're
that
saying now that Trump is liberal?
what about him makes him conservative? What makes Trump a conservative? You think I'm
I
conservative?
don't know.
Think I'm
I
conservative?
I I I don't think you are. I don't know. Because like I don't know you
No,
like that. I don't.
based on my page and what I do for a living, do you think I'm conservative?
I will say I don't know. I'm
No.
not gonna say yes or no. I'm gonna say I don't know.
Oh, see that then that's the problem. You don't recognize what conservative ideologies and principles are.
Well, because look, some people are on the left but support gun rights. Some people are on the right and they're gay, but they support right-leaning ideology. I think that
My
this
point.
whole spectrum is
Which one?
not 2D. It's not even 3D. It's like 8D. Like there's so many dimensions that it can go into that the idea of left and right really doesn't make sense if you really look at it.
My left and right, we're talking about liberal and conservative ideologies. We're talking
Well,
about
left and right and liberal and
you could
conservative would
left
align with left and right.
actually two different things because there's spectrums on the left and the right. There's people who go all the way to the right and all the way to the left, and those are two totally different things. But I'm talking about
Sure,
liberal ideology that runs America. Hollywood is leftist. It's liberal. We know this. The
sure.
music industry is liberal, and those are the two main sources of propaganda. You grow up watching cartoons from liberals.
When
You have to
when
argue, brother. Can you deny those things?
well, sort of. I'm gonna bring forward something, and I'm curious, like how you feel about this. When Tucker Carlson was still at Fox, he
Mhm.
was the number one guy in terms of views in all of America.
He should
Like
have
in
been.
terms of
There's only one
like
go to get conservative news at that time. He should have been. He's the one voice for that part of the country. He should have been.
so I don't know the stats of like let's say you add like uh like NBC, MSNBC, like all the other ones that are CNN, like if you add all of them together, I don't know if they surpass him, but in terms of just like how many eyeballs are looking at the same person talking at 6 p.m., 7 p.m., whatever, like talking about the news, Tucker Carlson for a while was number one.
Mhm.
And a lot of red states like Fox, follow Fox. A lot of people vote
But there,
Republican
what is the other conservative news source before Trump? What was the other conservative news source on TV?
before Trump.
Yeah,
Well,
because
I feel like Fox has been there for a while.
yeah, but when Trump came into office, because people realized that there was a lack of media, then things like OAN and I can't remember the other one right now, but other news platforms popped up. But before that, it was only Fox. You see what
Hmm.
I'm saying? How many liberal news platforms can you think of?
Many, many.
That's my point. Compared to
But
how many conservative media platforms can you think of, like on TV, not papers? How many liberal TV news programs can you think of? I mean, new conservative, not liberal, conservative.
I don't really follow conservative news like that, so I'm
That's
not
my
the best
point.
one to answer that question. But
That's
I'm
my
sure that like there are like very like strict Christian circles. There are people in the South. Like
that's
I'm sure
true.
there are like it's not like conservatives don't have a voice.
I didn't say that.
But I will say after the Obama years, sure, maybe liberal media was dominating with Hollywood, cable news, music. Sure. I'm not disagreeing because like in the 2010s, we saw this huge push towards not conservatism, progressivism, where like it was like the height of BLM, the Me Too, all these things were going on. It was very liberal, and I agree with that. I'm not denying that. I'm
Here's
just
what
saying, like, I don't know that there was a moment where like conservative voices were fully like cornered. I think there was definitely a moment where liberal
you make.
like
You're defending a point I didn't make. All I asked
I'm
you
not
was,
saying you made it. I'm not saying you made it. I'm just
yeah, I
expressing
never
myself.
did.
I'm just saying like I feel like there was a moment where liberal ideology was definitely like on top in terms of like media attention, but like these things swing back and forth. Because like as far as I'm concerned,
Yeah,
I
but
think
they,
like right now you have Trump in office. Before that, you had Biden. So Republican, Democrat. Before that, Trump, Republican. Before that, Obama, Democrat. Before that, Bush. Like it goes back and forth.
yeah,
There's a
that
pendulum
the election
swing.
has nothing to do with the propaganda. I, the what I'm trying to say is when, say for example, Trump won, he won twice, and both times the media has been anti-Trump. Both times, the mainstream media, except for Fox, the mainstream media
Right.
has been anti-Trump. It was not anti or critical of Obama. We didn't hear about the bad things Obama did because we lived in a liberal echo chamber. So when I show people Obama, for example, taking a sip of the Flint water and he's not actually drinking it, people are like, "Oh, I never saw that before." Why wouldn't you see that? Why wouldn't the media put that in your face? Why wouldn't the media show that to you so that you can have an informed decision? It's because they want you to live in a left wing or liberal echo chamber. It's simple.
So if you were able to find that clip, it means that someone somewhere published it, right?
Yeah, it was in a documentary. All of this stuff is published. It's not promoted.
So
You see what I'm trying to say?
well, yeah, but like
Tony
unfortunately,
Temple was all over the news, but my followers, only 11% of the people who took that survey know who he is. But he wasn't on mainstream news. He
unfortunately,
was on local news. He wasn't on mainstream
un-
news. So that's the difference. So
unfortunately, media is business, right?
that's my
So
point, brother. That's my
at a
point.
certain
That's what I'm
point,
trying to
like
get you to say. That's what I'm trying to get you
it's
to say. It's a
well,
liberal
yeah,
business, but the business
no, I'm
also
just saying like
involves
media.
politics. The business
When I
also
say
influences.
media, when I say media is business, I mean like the people that work in media. Sure, they might have their ideology, but I think that they care about profit too as well. They care
No, they
about
don't.
certain
That's why
narratives.
CNN is in the tank. That's why all those places had to hire new CEOs because they became so politically involved that they lost the plot. They lost the plot. Because that's what made people tune in, but they had no idea how they would retain those people when Trump was out of office.
You you don't think that these huge networks care about money?
Yes, until you get an activist in office. That's the difference, brother. Those people will sacrifice everything to hurt that man. That's
I think that what they're trying to hurt is not him himself, but like what he stands for. Because you have people that want certain things that are
either
rich,
way.
and you have other rich people that want different things, and they're going to have a tug of war battle to see who gets their way.
Yeah, who's been
Like,
winning the whole time? Who's been winning, you think?
I wouldn't say that someone's been winning the whole time. I think it swings back and forth.
No, it doesn't. The only thing that has swung back and forth is the party and play. But all of those people have been establishment. All of them. The only
But
people that we've seen that haven't been establishment is Bernie Sanders, who we know they robbed him 2 times of his primary, and Trump. Those are the only
but you
two.
said earlier that Trump is liberal, which also confused me.
Yeah, he's a liberal. He ran as a Republican because why would he run with those nut jobs? He ran as a Republican because those principles are really today the new conservative that everybody thinks is a conservative. They all tell you they're just defected liberals. They still have the same mindset. They just think that the left has moved
So you're
so
now saying
far.
that even the Republicans are infiltrated by liberals?
There's liberals on Republican side and Democrat side. There's conservatives on both sides too. The Republican title is there's a spectrum of Republican that's conservative to liberal, and there's the same thing on the Democrat side. There's conservative and liberals, but people vote for liberals. They don't vote for conservatives on either side. That's the difference. But the liberals are on both sides, the conservatives are on both sides, and really, they call them the uniparty because really they are. You know, we know who gets in office because when Bernie tried, Bernie was actually people power. People actually wanted Bernie, and then when they robbed the primary
Yep.
from him, they went to Trump because he was the other populist. So they went to Trump because they were doing a rebellion for the fact that they gave us Hillary instead of Bernie. And that's when people
Yeah.
started to realize, oh, there's an establishment. And even Bernie Sanders said it himself. He was up against the political establishment, which was the Republican and Democrats, because the establishment is one party. That's why everything comes together to demonize Trump. That's why everything came together to make sure Bernie didn't get it. And now Bernie is fucking neutered, but Trump is not.
Do you see Trump as a benefit to the current system that we're in?
Yeah, I don't think that he is the solution. I don't think anybody can be the solution to the system. I think that they need to be divorced from it. And that's why I keep saying that. Instead of
What
looking
what
to
do you
empowering it, energizing it.
what do you see in his policies and his actions that inspires you or that you like?
Well, first, I used to be a person that didn't like America. So I
Really?
did, yeah. So if I was that type, if the average person, I don't think would see any benefit in him being like America first and all those types of things. But I think the fact that me personally, I think a businessman in that position is better than a politician. I think somebody who has money already, who is actually losing money from being the president, is better than somebody who enriched themselves by 33%, 33 times. That person,
Who's that?
Obama, Obama, and I'll post that video in the coming weeks because people think that when some guy went around asking kids on college campuses, how do you think it would be if a president was to do this? They all just assumed that it was Trump, and then at the end he told him it's Obama. So that's what I'm talking about. We have this expectation of the other side that it's not based on reality; it's based on propaganda. So what I like is a person who is like, yeah, I make money in this country, and I want this country to thrive, so I can continue to make money in it. When you go back and listen to this dude from the '80s, he's saying the exact same shit he's saying today. And when he's saying, I don't think I should run for president, I think somebody else could do it, and I can back them, but I don't think it's a good job. Saying the exact same thing, but these other countries are robbing us and they should pay up. They should pay their fair share. The other countries are laughing at us. Our military is weak. Saying the exact same shit he's always been saying. Now, as far as policy goes, I don't tell people to rely on policy because it's not that the president can do whatever he wants to do. He has a Congress. So I don't tell people to rely on policy. What I tell people to focus on is human capital. I've been financially independent since 2009. There's been a couple presidents since then, and I didn't even know what they was doing. I've been financially independent the whole time. That's what I teach people. I teach people human capital to stop looking at these
I'm
Democrats as the solution and focus on human capital.
I'm gonna segue into the question I really wanted to ask you in a second.
Okay.
I'm just curious. This is like I'm not trying to debate you here. I'm just curious,
Mhm.
like how do you feel about Trump's immigration policy, like DHS, ICE? How do you like it? I'm assuming thumbs up means you like it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't know if the thing froze or not. Yeah, but yes, I'm with it.
How do you feel about like the two incidents that made like national news, like Alex Perfetti and Renee Good, their deaths?
Freddie, Alex Freddie, Perfetti. I like that better
Oh,
actually.
my bad. Actually, Perfetti's a hockey player. I'm getting things mixed up.
That's a fire name though. Perfetti, I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So you asked me. All right. So with the woman that was shot and with Freddie, yeah, with Alex being
Alex
shot.
Pretty.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
How do you feel
yeah.
about the way they died?
I think that if I'm not laughing at their death. I think that's tragic. I think that if the mainstream media wasn't turning these people into anti-ICE activists, we'd have never seen that. Like they're out there because Trump. From what I hear, from what I've heard, the rhetoric is they're out there because Trump is attacking Trump is taking away people who don't even have no violent crimes. They're not even criminals and shit like that. That's why they're so upset. Well, 61% of the people that Obama locked up, I mean, or arrested and deported in his first term was nonviolent criminals. They just was here illegally, and no one cared. You didn't see anybody out there protesting to the point where they were getting into altercations with the people arresting these
So
people.
we could definitely discuss what Obama did and what previous presidents did, but the question I'm asking you is about like these people that died. I think both of them died in 2026, if I'm not mistaken. So like very
Yeah.
recently,
Mhm.
when um, ICE went to Minnesota, and
Mhm.
like ICE went to Minnesota, from what I understand, mainly based on the assumption that Somalians over there were out of control. They were doing fraud. They were coming here illegally, and they wanted to like reinstate law and order in the state. So they sent ICE there against the will of the governor and the mayor of the city, from what I understood. So like
Mhm.
Trump was like, "You guys need ICE over there. We're going to send ICE." Things got pretty tense. A lot of the like Minnesota is pretty Democrat. A lot of people there were like, "We don't want you here. We're going to protest your presence." And as it happens very often in America, when you have two sides protesting in each other's face, it gets tense, and then a little spark, and something
No two
happens.
sides. It wasn't no anti ICE. It wasn't no. It was anti ICE protesters and ICE doing their job. That's not two
Of
sides.
course,
Yeah,
well,
anti. It would
I'm
be
saying
anti ICE protesters and then pro ICE protesters. That would be two sides. These are
sure.
people who
Well,
were getting in the way of ICE doing their job. Like it's so. Think about this, brother. This is what we talk about the ridiculousness, right? When the woman was shot, were they picking up a Somalian?
no, I don't think
Who were
so.
they picking up?
Well, actually, you know what? I'm gonna say I don't think so, but I don't know. I don't know on that street that day what exactly they were doing. I don't know. They were
Yeah, that
doing
should be a
something
part of the story. That should be
for
the
sure.
full part of the story. Because
But like
what is
the way she
ridiculous is
died,
yeah, her wife should have never told her to pull off in that car. That is stupid. No black person
but
would have
don't
done that shit. We know how the cops operate. You don't do that shit. That man told you to get out the car. You get out the fucking car. You don't pull off when a man has a
look
gun drawn on you. You don't do that. That's stupid.
if
Even her wife said that.
for
Even her wife says, I regret telling her to just drive. That was stupid. That's people who don't have any experience with police officers or law enforcement that don't know how shit can go. It's stupid. And they were
I'm not
there
gonna
blocking,
say that.
hold up, they were there blocking ICE from arresting a rapist, bruh. That's what I'm saying. Is people care about what they want them to care about. It was just protect women. It was just believe all women. It was just me too. And now someone who is being arrested for a sexually, it's like it's almost like no one really cares about anything. They care about what the people tell them to care about. So that's why they're out there protesting people who are doing the exact same thing ICE has always done. The only difference is we now have a time where about 10 million people came into our country within 4 years. That's different. You know, Obama, 61% of the people he took out the first year, they weren't they were non-violent criminals. But there was no media apparatus telling people to be upset about that. There was no media apparatus or NGO apparatuses funding protests. Because why would they do that when they're pro left? They're pro liberal, they're pro
So
immigration, they're pro destroying the country. Why would they do that?
there are a
How
lot
many
of
people
things that you're
died? How many people
mentioning.
died under Obama? How many people died from Border Patrol? Because that the one killing was Border Patrol.
I don't have that number. I
Yeah,
don't have
no
that
one knows.
number.
No one knows. But they're upset about how immigration is being done under Trump. Why was no one upset about 10 million people coming into our country 4 years ago? Then we wouldn't have to have this type of response. Why is no one concerned about that?
My my reason of bringing up like not only eyes but specifically the two people that died
Hmm.
is I see a dangerous slippery slope, and I'm trying not to like obviously we all have our biases, but I'm trying not to see it from a political lens. I'm just seeing it from the video that I saw. I
Yeah, that's
don't think.
too small of a perspective, brother. You have this. You have
Fair
to
enough.
take into
But look, I
consideration
wasn't there.
someone
I
is
wasn't
doing.
there, so I have to only
You have
like
to take.
base my opinion
So
off
take my
of
word for
what I
it.
can.
Take my word for it, and then go do your own research. The same thing that Cloward and Piven did, flooding black people into the welfare system. The other leg of their plan to cripple capitalism in America was to flood America with immigrants, illegal immigrants that can use the
But
system as
I
well.
I
The plan is still
there's
working.
merit
This is what I
there's
mean
merit
about,
in
and that's what
there's
I mean.
merit in discussing that, but
Intrigue.
that's not what I'm trying to discuss.
I
I really
know.
want to talk
I
about.
know. Yet I don't want to focus on the small situation. I want to focus. I want
You
to
say
focus.
small situations, we're talking like deaths
Yeah,
of
but
Americans.
yeah, yeah. See, and that's what I'm talking about. How many died under Obama? You don't know. You don't care.
Who are
It's
you
only
talking about
important.
died?
It's only important when they told you to
Who?
be
Which
important.
people? I don't even know who you're talking about.
That's my point,
You said
brother.
how many people died under Obama? Who?
That's
Who?
exactly. You know these two, right? You know the two that died under Trump.
Yes,
Why?
because that just happened like weeks
Did you
ago.
research it?
No,
You didn't have
no, it
to,
was
did you?
all over the news.
Exactly. How many people died under Obama?
But look, while
How many
while
people?
there's merit, I
Where's
don't
the
fucking know.
comparison?
Do you?
That's my point. Yes, I do. I do. I
Okay.
do. I ask the questions on
But you
Google.
say you say how
Google
many
tells
people
me the
died.
answers.
When you say how many people died, I'm not even sure who you're talking about. Are you talking about officers, protesters,
No.
illegals? I have
People
no
being
idea what you're
locked
talking
up,
about.
people in their custody. Why would I be talking about them? I'm talking about people,
Because I
Border
don't know.
Patrol
Because the
shooting at
two
people and they die. That's what I'm talking about. How many of those happened under
I
Obama?
don't know. I told you.
More than
I don't
Trump?
know.
More than Trump. I can tell you that right now. More than Trump. So why
And
aren't we? Why didn't you hear
You
about
know
it?
what? I'm like I'm gonna say police, even though it's not police, but like law enforcement, whatever, brutality, wherever it's coming from, is something that I'll. And you know what? If someone somewhere did a good enough job to bury the stories where I didn't hear about them, that's a different issue. But if I did hear about it, I
It's
would
the
be
whole
just as
issue.
upset because
It's the
I
that's my
don't want
that's my point.
I
That's
don't
my
want people dying in the streets, whether it's Obama or Trump or Bush or whoever who's president. I
so
don't,
do
that's
they
not
care?
like
Do
with
they
everything
care?
we've discussed
Do they
today, I
care?
think it makes sense that I wouldn't want people to die in the streets.
No one wants people to die in the streets. That's why they should tell people to stay the fuck home.
But that's the thing. That's
Simple.
the thing. You are allowed to protest.
Of
So what
course
I
you
wanted
are.
to discuss with you, what I
But
wanted to
hold on, hold on,
discuss
hold on,
with you
hold on.
is
Because yes, you are allowed to protest, right? But when people turn you into activists because they're feeding you information, that's dangerous. That's why there weren't anybody out there when ICE was arresting people under Obama, even though he deported more people than any president, even though 61% of the people in his first year were nonviolent criminals.
look,
There was no one
we
telling you to be upset about it, even though 56
I
people died. Even though 56 people died in ICE custody, and I think about 36 or something died at the border from Border Patrol, literally shooting them. No one gave a fuck. There was no media outlet telling you that these deaths are bad compared to the
so
two.
look,
Compared to the two,
if you want to
that's
discuss that,
propaganda, bro.
I
That's
can
what I want to
answer
talk
what you
about.
just said. I
That's
can
all I
answer
want
what
to
you
talk
just
about.
said, but
That's
you
all I want to
realize
talk
that like I'm bringing up something and you're just dismissing it by saying what about Obama the whole time.
about. If you think I'm dismissing it, that's fair. I want you to ask, answer my question. Why don't you know?
Look, if right now something happens and I don't hear about it in the media, I can't answer the question, why was I not told about it?
Yes, you
I
can.
cannot.
Yes, you can.
No,
Yes,
no.
yes, you
Look,
can. You just don't want to. Let me ask you another question. Let me ask you another question. Have you seen the pictures of the kids in cages in
at
Trump's first
where
term when they were talking about putting kids in cages? Have you seen those pictures? Have you
I
heard
might
that
have,
narrative? Have you heard
I
about
might
kids
have,
being in cages?
I might have. I'm not sure. I might have.
Because this is my point. My point is that narrative was used to demonize Trump, right? And this is not in defense of Trump. This is in defense of anti-propaganda. So that narrative was put on Trump because of pictures from 2014 Obama era. So when we talk about you can't go in the past and minimize the present with the past, you got to talk about the propaganda being used against us from the media, brother. That's the point that I want to focus on. You
I
could talk
can,
death
I
is bad.
can
Death is really bad. 56 is worse than
look.
2. 56 is worse than
I
2. Do
can,
we agree? Do we
I
agree?
can, I can.
Do we agree that 56 deaths is worse than 2?
I agree
Because
that
listen, because
56
I
deaths
let you,
is worse
I
than
just want
two,
to,
but I
because
don't. I'm not saying that these numbers are verified. I'm saying that if
you
56
could look it
people
up right
died,
now. Do you
it's
have
more
another
than
device?
two.
Can someone in the chat Google it and just put it in the chat? This is my point, brother, because
I'm,
that right there to me is a diversion. And I'm only doing this right now. I'm being a bit more aggressive with the talk because we talked for 2 hours, and for the most part, I've let you go on very, very long tangents, and I've sat back and I've enjoyed them. But right now, I want to pin the conversation down because this is the last hour that we got. The point that I'm doing on my page right now, the reason that I do those surveys, those polls, is to show that people don't know stuff. They live in a world, they have an opinion, but they don't know shit. And when I show
okay.
them that they don't, when I show them they don't know shit, they get upset with me. They should be getting upset with the people that didn't show them shit because they know other stuff. It's not that the people are like, I don't know. They're picking a side because they think they know. They, you see what I'm saying? If I say when we started voting for Democrats, they think it was in the 60s because they don't know. If I ask them another question,
Look,
they don't know. That's the
I'm
point.
I'm listening to you. I'm taking in what you're saying, okay? But right now, there's something that it's not even political. This is about you. You're not allowing me to make my point. Like, you're
Brother,
not
brother,
letting
we
me,
go. I'm gonna give you the videos. You can go back and watch them. You
but you're
talked,
not,
you
see, you're
talked,
not,
you talk for very long periods of time. I don't cut you off. I let you finish and then I speak. And as soon as I speak, you interject. That's normal shit. It's normal. It takes some experience to get over that. That's normal shit. But what I'm doing right now is pinning the conversation down because I let you have 2 hours of talking. Like I said,
bro,
brother,
we've talked back and forth. This is not like I had 2 hours by myself.
I know when I post the full videos on YouTube, you'll get to see it. Maybe it feels different in the experience, but when I post the full videos, you'll get to see it for yourself. You go on very long tangents, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what we're here for.
Okay.
But now I need you to answer my questions. I need to be the person that is in charge of this live because it is mine, and there is a purpose to this. At the end of the day, when we get to this topic here, when you're bringing up those 2 deaths and how important they are and how tragic they are, you have to
You're putting
you
words
have
in
to
my mouth
put that
now.
I thought you said they was tragic, but you have to put
They
that
are tragic. I didn't say
that's
anything about their importance. I was going to ask you a question. You don't
put
even know
that
why I brought them up.
that's okay. We're here now.
I
Because
brought it,
like say
I
for
brought it
example,
up
I have
and you
notes here about
hijacked the
segregation.
subject.
I have notes here about segregation. I was never able to actually use them because I let you direct the conversation. So now I'm
Well,
directing the
I didn't know
conversation.
you had notes. If you
That's
brought it
not the
up, I would have
point.
let you talk.
Not the point. It's not the point. The point is, I let you direct the conversation for 2 hours, right?
That's
I
not true.
responded to you. I responded to
That's
you.
dishonest.
Okay. Whatever you say, brother, like I said, you'll get to see the replay. I'm going to post it on YouTube in its full context. I'm not going to edit
It
anything
was
out.
a conversation. You took
Of
it
course, it
places,
was
I took
a
it places.
conversation.
To say that I took it
Of course,
wherever I
it was a
wanted for
conversation,
two
brother, but I
hours is
didn't cut
just
you off.
factually not true.
I didn't cut you off. That's the difference. I let you talk. And I'd like to finish my point right now,
You're
actually.
cutting me off right now.
My point. I'm doing it on purpose. I told you. We have less than 10 minutes. And then I have to go to the next live. You understand what I'm saying? I could let you keep talking, but I'm not going to actually have the conversation I want to have. I don't know why this keeps happening. I literally let you have 2 hours of talking, brother. And now I'm telling you, because you said let's get back on here so you could wrap your point up and ask me one question. And here we are, another hour in. So I just like to ask you some questions if that's okay. So
You want to
if
ask me questions right now?
so if 2 is bad, 56 must be way worse. But why wasn't anybody upset about it under Obama? Why do you think?
I think that this is a very leading question. And I'm gonna
Yeah,
say I
ask me
don't think that people
questions
are
too.
not upset about debt. But first of all, like there are many things I need to deconstruct about what you're saying here. First of all,
I
when you
don't know
say
if we got enough
56
time for
debt,
that. I would like you to just get
Well,
to
you're
the
asking me
point.
a question. You're asking me a
If you
question. I
could,
can't.
okay, if you could get to the point first as to why you don't think people know, and then you can deconstruct after that, just in case it cuts off.
You're asking me to tell you why don't people know about a
Your best
fact that you
guess.
just told me about right now. I cannot tell you that because I didn't even verify what
Ask
you
me the
said.
question.
I
Let's
have
reverse it and ask
I
me the
have
question.
no idea.
Let's see how
Was
I
that?
do. Ask me the question. Let me tell you what I think.
Why don't people know?
Because they live in the left wing echo chamber.
Okay.
That's why.
All
Yeah.
right. All right. That's your answer, and that's cool. That's
Simple.
cool.
Now you can deconstruct.
All right. Look, I have no idea, like, that 56 number. Is that from the whole 8 years? I don't know. Who
It's
is
from
it
the
that
whole 8 years,
died?
if I'm not
In what
mistaken.
context? In what states? What, like, look, if 56 different people died, and we're not talking like one mass shooting or one bombing, we're talking different incidents. For me to say anything about that 56, you realize how many different cases I would need to look up. And like, I can't do that right now. So I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt that you're saying the truth because I don't think that you're lying on purpose. But I cannot confirm or deny what you're saying. You're dropping, and I said that very early on when we started talking. If you drop something like that, unless I like put my phone down like this and start like typing on my computer,
Would you
there's
like me to
no
look
way
it
for
up?
me to like really have a conversation about what you're saying because I haven't fact checked it. That's why like in debates nowadays you'll have like the fact checkers. So
Yeah,
I'm
they
going to
come
give you the
up.
benefit of the doubt that what you're saying is true. All right?
I could Google it if
In
you want me
that
to.
case, was that
I could Google it if you like me to. I got my other phone.
I'd rather not. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna Google it because I need the people who come and watch this later to see. Okay.
Cool.
All right.
Cool.
I'm listening to you while you talk though.
All right. So what I wanted to ask at the beginning was not like, is 56 worse than two? Because obviously, more deaths is a bad thing. We can agree on that. You're gonna look up right now your source. You're gonna pull it up. That's
It's
cool.
just Google.
And
I don't have a source. It's just Google. I'm just going to see what the AI review says. Yeah. So this is the AI review. It tells you, and it's taking this from multiple sources. It
I
might
can't
say
read
right
it.
there.
It's
I know
reversed on my
it's in reverse,
screen.
right? It
Yeah.
says so. All right. So let me just put it there so somebody can screenshot it, and then I'll read it. But it says there have been 56 ICE deaths in custody during the Obama administration, including 6 suicides, at least 1 death after attempted suicide, right? Deaths, page 66, fatal neglect, how ICE ignores deaths in detention. Oh, so this is that led to something else. But basically, there have been 56 deaths. Now, if I do Border Patrol, ICE custody, because really it's about use of force, because that's what these two things were. They were use of force. So let me do Border Patrol.
But we're comparing different types of deaths right now because a suicide is way different than someone being
Yeah, but
gunned down in the
that only
street.
takes the number down to 50. Now this is a total of 67 died
You say
before.
you say it only
Wait,
takes the
did I
number
do it?
down to 50, but you're the one that said 56. I told you I cannot verify that. Now you're verifying it live, and you're bringing down the number to 50. I was letting you
Still
know I cannot.
egregious.
Was that?
Still
I can't read
egregious.
it.
Now
It's
this is
reversed.
I know I got to put it there so that people who watch this later can screenshot it for themselves, and then I'm gonna read it. Now I can't get this thing out the way for some reason. I don't know how to do that, but you can see the part right there. It says a total of 67 individuals died in immigration and what is this shit? No, that's not the one I'm looking for. That's total individuals, immigration and customs enforcement, ICE custody. That's not the one I'm looking for. I'm looking for BPC. Hold up, my fault. That's what I put. BPC. The first time I looked at it, it was with ChatGPT. You know, they're a little better than the Google Gym.
ChatGPT is also really bad at giving you sources. Like I literally asked, I was curious. I actually asked ChatGPT earlier. This is like different topic, but I asked it a very simple question. What are the top 10 point getters in the NHL in the history? It's a list with facts. Like if it was basketball, you'd have LeBron James, Michael Jordan, whatever. It got it
Yeah.
wrong. It
Did you
messed up
tell them
things.
just
Like
the facts?
ChatGPT is not that smart.
Did you tell
Just
it
saying.
just the facts? Because it definitely adds narrative. Every time I ask it a question, I always have to go back
It
and say
wasn't it
just the
wasn't
facts.
a political question. It was a
No, it's
question
not.
about
Literally.
stats of like sports. These
Hmm?
things are tracked. you should know that the number one is LeBron, then Michael Jordan, then whatever. But like because it's taking stats from 8 different
Every
websites, from
right.
ESPN,
Well,
from blah blah blah, and then it's
it
using
takes it from the
playoffs.
most trusted sites. Google, they have a way to rank that type of stuff. Not saying that those places are
Look,
official.
I'm telling
But,
you, the list itself with the number of points they got,
mhm.
you had someone in number five that has less points than someone like further down that has more points that yeah less points sorry than someone further down in the list.
Okay.
Like
Yeah, I'm
AI
gonna
is
post a conversation with ChatGPT in the near future where I showed it that it was being biased. So I believe that. Oh shit, no,
it,
that's not it.
like
That can't be right.
A- AI like I'm not trying to go down the AI rabbit hole, but AI is not
Yeah.
sentient. It just reads a
Of
bunch of
course not.
websites and
Yeah, it's
tries
just the
to
algorithm.
create a text that we can read. But like it's not
100%.
aware that it's saying bullshit.
Hmm?
It's not aware that it's saying bullshit. It's
It
it's it's
can't
not
be.
aware.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not sentient like you
So
said.
like
But that's why I'm going to post this conversation where you literally get to see that it is liberal leaning because all the sources on the internet are liberal leaning. So yeah, I get what you're saying. I agree with you.
it's just repeating what's already on the internet. So yeah.
Yeah, like most people actually, most people are doing
And
that.
also,
Most
like
people are bots.
if you look at AI like ChatGPT like sources, a lot of what it quotes is actually Reddit, which means that
Wikipedia.
you and I right now from our houses can just
Mhm.
start typing the same way people are typing in your comments on Instagram,
That's why
and
you need
that
to check.
ends up being
That's why you
regurgitated
need
by
to. Yes, that's
ChatGPT.
why you need to check your sources 100%. Don't
So
never listen
just
to a
typing
Reddit thread.
something on
Don't never
ChatGPT or
listen to a nigga
Gemini
on Instagram.
doesn't have much value in my opinion.
Yeah,
But
but the national immigration place or something like that is a little different. That's what I'm saying. This is not ChatGPT either. This is Google, but AI is AI, right? But I
um,
can't find the border patrol numbers right now. But I know I have the screenshot on my phone, but I can't exit out the chat right now.
the reason I brought
No,
up
this can't be right.
the
Hundreds of
reason I
deaths
brought up
occurred.
the two names that I said earlier, I just wanted to ask, like
Yeah.
when I'm gonna focus on Renee Good, like the
Okay,
one in the car.
in the car.
Do you think that the officer overreacted by shooting her?
No,
No?
no. When you drive your car, the officer they shoot you. That's the standard.
In the videos that we see, does it look like she was about to run him over to like fuck him up good, or was she trying to leave the scene? Because I
How
I
would he
didn't I
know?
don't see the
How would he know?
tires. I've seen the videos.
No, how would he know?
Because like you see a moving object coming your way,
Mhm.
or you can see it trying to get out of the way. Like he's by the way, like in the video, like this
Mhm.
is the video. This is not AI.
Mhm.
He's recording himself. He
Mhm.
shoots, and after that he says, "Fucking bitch." To
Yeah, she hit
me,
him with a car. What would you say?
she didn't hit him.
She didn't hit him.
She
There was
didn't hit
no.
him.
Did you see both angles of it, or
Send me
just?
all the angles you want. I I
I'm
I
asking you.
want.
I'm
What's that?
asking you. Did you see both angles? I'm asking you.
I've seen more than one angle. I've never seen an angle where he seems to be in danger. Was the car close to him? Yes. Was it about to run him over? Like, look, if for
That's real
example,
easy to say, brother. That's real easy to say from your
look,
house.
look, if you're in a road rage incident where someone comes and knocks on your window, you can feel
Mhm.
threatened. You can be like, "Yo, get the fuck out of here." But you can't say, "Oh, he was about to run me over. My car was here. You were on the side." Like, you can't just paint a narrative like that and assume people are gonna go with it. Like, the woman is a 30-something-year-old white woman with 3 kids, a lesbian, and all of a sudden she's gonna become a murderer. Or
Yeah.
the
Come on, bro.
officer actually unloaded his gun and killed her. Like
Let me
there's
ask you:
there's a
does she take
twisted
any
narrative.
accountability? Does she? Do you think she takes any accountability for her death?
Look, I will say this. I think that if right now, tonight, I decide to go to a bar, I get drunk, and I decide to piss off the biggest guy in the place, he shouldn't be able to stab me or shoot me, but I'm being reckless and stupid. I will say that. But that doesn't justify him murdering me. One wrong doesn't justify murder. Was she being um a bit of an asshole to him? Sure. Was she supposed to be there? Maybe not. We can talk about that. But in a country like the US, that's a democracy where we have like due process, it should be like, all right, you need to leave right now, and as long as you're not actively trying to run him over, you shouldn't unload your weapon.
It wasn't you need to leave. It was get out your car. Get out your car.
Is this what he said?
Yeah, get out the car. It's too late to leave now. You're obstructing police business. That's illegal in America. That's illegal. She was a
So
criminal. He was breaking the law. Just like if it was a black guy and he was trying to evade the police and he's driving at the cops, yeah, he's gonna get shot. That happens all the time. If my cousin got his car stole, if he'd had his pistol on that day, he'd have killed them people in that car. He had to go to jail though, because he ain't no cop. But he would have killed them people. He said it himself. And I wouldn't blame him. You get real mad when you see somebody taking some shit from you in your
is that a real
face.
story?
It's a real story.
Your cousin went to jail for shooting people
No,
that tried to
no,
steal?
I said they stole his car in front of him.
Yeah.
If he had his pistol on him, which I'm glad he did not, he would have lit that car up. He would have killed everybody in that car. That's where I come from. So that shit ain't weird to me.
That's fine. That's fine. And like, I'm not gonna dispute your lived experience. I just think it's probably not worth going to jail for that, but that's my opinion. And
That's
you're
why
free.
that's why she should have stayed her ass at home. That's why her wife should have told her to get out the car instead of pulling off. It ain't just their fault. Man got a gun out on you and you stupid enough to pull off in front of it. You're crazy. I don't give a fuck if you bump me.
Like,
My first instinct before you get to me, before your car touches me, I'm gonna put a bullet in you. Your
but
car
you
gonna hit
can't
me
do
because it's
that. You
still
can't do
rolling.
that.
Yes, you can.
You
Yes,
can't.
you can. That's what he did. Listen, a car
Okay.
is this is what you don't
Can you
understand, brother.
physically do
A
that?
car,
Yes, but that's
a
not how
car,
you're trained.
yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. A car is a dangerous weapon. If I'm standing in front of your car and I tell you to turn it off and get out the car and you start moving, I shoot you. That's how it goes. That's how it goes. You can find
All
multiple
right.
examples of that.
I'm
Multiple.
actually gonna pull up the video right now though, because this is important.
You gotta hurry up. We got 2 minutes.
All right, you know what? I'll pull up the video, but I'll ask you, because actually that matters more to me than all of this. Is like what led you to get started with like your whole business, your current job?
Oh, I was sharing information on Instagram and women started asking me to like teach it to their guys. Like, is there a way that I could share this with my guy? And then when I started to just make videos teaching, they were like, we need to see this demonstrated because it's too hard to understand. You're just talking videos, talking head videos. And that's how it started.
You said like you've been you said a certain word like independent or something like since 2009.
Financially independent, yes, 2009.
So what were you doing back then?
Affiliate marketing and teaching people how to do affiliate marketing. So I
Okay.
had like a PayPal business, but then I was also affiliate with like ClickBank, Amazon, Commission Junction
So what about like this current business? Like how long have you been doing it for?
since 2021. Yeah, 2021.
Oh, so it's fairly recent then.
Fairly recent, yeah.
Hmm. Sorry, I care more about that honestly than discussing politics, but I still did want to pull up the video. Right now I'm trying to
Okay.
find.
And we could always have a conversation about that too. It had to be next time because I told somebody I would jump on them at 8, jump on live with them at 8.
Okay. All right.
But no rush.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a slow-mo with two angles at once. Right now, like there's a moment. Okay. I'm gonna no, if I do this, it fucks it up.
If
Okay.
you, I'm about to say if you get a little closer.
Sorry, yeah, that video is not the best. But like I'm the fuck. Sorry.
That's all good.
Um okay. So here you have the officer that's about to shoot her, right? You see the tires, they're turned to the left because there's a car here. So
Mm-hmm.
to leave the scene, like assuming you're trying to leave the scene, you're
Mm-hmm.
gonna have to go right of that white car. So
Yeah.
like the tires being
Left.
turned, Yeah, sorry, left of that white car. So the
Yeah,
tires being turned that way do make sense. If you like, even if you like floor it from that position, you're not gonna run him over because he's at the door on the side.
that's not the person that shot her. The cop that shot her, you can see his arm right there in between. You wherever that cop's head is at, you see the cop behind her. I mean, behind him. That you see that cop pull out his gun. There's a different cop, not the cop on the side pulling the door. There's a cop standing in front of the car, right behind that border patrol agent. I wish I could point at it, but if you can move that cursor up, you see that guy. He just pulled out his gun.
This one
When
here?
you move, when you move your cursor to the guy by the car at the door. Okay, now move it up, 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 and over. Right, kind of down and a little over. Damn. Okay, this ain't gonna work. But you can see his arm behind that guy. He just pulled his gun out.
Because like there's two
Right
guys here,
there,
right?
right there. Yes,
Yeah.
the guy in the front is the one that shoots her. That's the one in front of the car. He's pulling out his
Okay,
gun right
so
now.
all right. Then car's right there. There's one officer.
And then that one walks over. You see his head? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the one that pulls out the gun and